Welcome to another deadline stream ahead of Game Week 10 in FPL. Game Week 9 was so eventful, wasn't it? And of course, a lot has actually happened since the preview I made where I was talking about the latest injury updates and all of the latest information, and then more updates came on the same day actually because there was more Carabao Cup games. You know, we found out more about Jimmy Vardy and all of that. So more of these kind of yellow flags have been cleared. We've got still a few of them kind of dithering around, like Rafinha, for example, and then of course Broca is out for Game Week 10. And of course, if you have any questions, let me know. Myself and also the rest of the chat will answer your questions. And yeah, let's all keep it respectful and all positive. Thank you very much to everyone who has been tuning in. Obviously, much appreciated as always. This is my current team for Game Week 10, and it's pretty much the same as it was in my team selection where I made very early transfers. I made them on the Saturday, pretty much last week, so a long time ago now, and not much has changed since then. The same captain, the same vice captain as well, and very happy with the team and how it's set up. I'm pretty confident, at least on paper. But FPL, you know how it is. Just like football, it's not always about how it is on paper. And I'm going to be going through your questions right now. So thank you very much to everyone. I'll try whiz through these, of course. Welcome to Hamza, who's been waiting around for, I think, a day or something. That comment was there for a long time. Thank you very much. Then we have Teza. Hey, is Rafinha available for this game week? And who can I replace Rafinha with if I can't afford Son? I'm not so much into the idea of Man City assets. Well, I'd still say Foden to replace him, but I personally think Rafinha will definitely be in the squad in Game Week 10, and I think he has a good chance of starting. Of course, it's not completely confirmed, and Bielsa didn't confirm it himself, but he is pretty much available. And other than Son, it'd only be pretty much Foden that I'd think about. I wouldn't think of anyone else to replace Rafinha, especially when he's playing Norwich. Welcome, John. Thank you very much, obviously, for becoming a member in one of the recent streams. Very much appreciated. And then, yeah, as you say, Bielsa said the other day, Rafinha will be fit. Lipuk says, 213k rise last week to now 117k overall. My aim of the season is to finish top 100k. It looks like I'm going to have to set bigger goals. Thanks for all the help. No problem, mate. And of course, I'm just offering my opinions and stuff and just making content. But yeah, it's all down to your decision making and still a long way to go. But you're in a good position, I'd say. Should I hold Aspie this game week or switch to Chilwell or do Saka to Foden? I'd do Saka to Foden. I think that's the biggest upgrade. Don't get me wrong. I think Chilwell is an upgrade on Azpilicueta, but I think Foden is just on another level to Saka and FPL. Smith Rowe sounds interesting. He's been performing nicely. He has, but if you think about it, pretty much I think he's only got 2 returns this season, if I'm not mistaken, or 3. So mainly 2 double-digit hauls that are the bulk of his points. He's going to get a lot of blanks along the way, and Arsenal are just so inconsistent. But around his price, you can't really ask for much more. There's no one really that's consistent. Let's say there was Townsend for a little while. He's kind of dropped off, so I can see the appeal of him. Welcome, Ninja, for tuning in. Rohit says, who is a better long-term pick, Kane or Son on a wildcard? Definitely Son. I mean, I've been talking about this recently. Kane can make me change my mind, of course, but for the time being, I'd probably go for Son, to be honest. Yeah, and I agree with John as well. I think it's Son long-term for the assists along with the goals. And yeah, just as a midfielder, 2 million cheaper, extra point for scoring a goal as a midfielder and the clean sheet point. Welcome, Kobe. Thank you for joining in. And Lipuk says don't skip the ads. No, you can skip the ads, to be honest. That's fine. Let's see. So Singh says start Mbumo, Hwang or Livramento. I'd still start Mbumo. The kind of only issue there is that if he comes off the bench, that would be a bit of a concern, but I probably would still start him. The other two aren't too bad, though. United in bad form. Should I captain Son? I'd still captain Salah. That's personally what I think. Ultimately, captain whoever you think is going to get the most points, but I'm just going to be going for Salah. Son isn't a bad option, though. I think he could do pretty well. Evening, Dylan. How are you? Do you think Aspie to Rudiger is a good move, or is Chilwell better? Great question, Mickey. And I think all of them are really good assets in their own right. I think Rudiger and Azpilicueta are the most nailed Chelsea defenders, and long term, you could arguably say they're the best. But at this moment in time, the form Chilwell is in, it's absolutely sensational. The positions he's getting into, it's no fluke. So if you were to make a transfer, I would go to Chilwell. But ultimately, looking longer term, maybe Azpilicueta and Rudiger are the best ones. So you don't have to make that transfer. But if you are looking to do it, I would personally go for Chilwell, which is what I did myself. I got Vardy and Hwang for Ronaldo and Lukaku. Good move. I think so. Obviously, with Vardy, it was a bit of a risk if you got him in maybe a few days ago. But now he is pretty much confirmed fit. He's been training. He loves playing against Arsenal. I've been actually thinking about Vardy myself, and I would rather have Son over Vardy looking at the next 10-15 game weeks. But having said that, Vardy is still a really good option, and I think you've got 2 of the best players around their respective price brackets. John says, any word on Pinnock's fitness? That's actually a good point. Let me actually see that. I think in terms of Pinnock, I think he's actually available. With Mbeumo though, not that optimistic to be honest if we're looking at Mbeumo. But in terms of Pinnock, obviously if anyone has any extra information or updated information, let me know. But I think Pinnock is actually available for Game Week 10. If I am wrong about that, then my apologies. But yeah, I think that's what the latest is on him. Greetings from Florida. All of you smart punters. Wow, yeah, Florida. That's pretty wild, to be honest. Holding Aspie, rolling my transfer. Might do Vardy to Tony and Mbeumo to Son next week. Yeah, I think that sounds really good, to be honest. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much what I was talking about. I think I'd rather have Son over Vardy, but of course they're all good options. Welcome, Nabil. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome, Gavin. Foden and Tony in for Antonio and Saka -4. I would do it. Well, actually, no. Getting rid of Antonio ahead of Villa, I wouldn't do that. I was, bought in when I saw Foden and Tony, but getting rid of Antonio, not for me. I get you need that to fund the Saka to Foden move, but I wouldn't take that hit. Hey Dylan, should we both have Son and Kane in our teams or just one of them? And if one, who do you think offers the best value? Once again, I think Son offers the best value, and you don't have to have both of them. I mean, look at the form Kane is in. He's only scored once this season in the Prem, and he got the assist against Newcastle, who are one of the worst teams in the league. So I don't think you have to go for both of them. But if you are going for one, definitely Son at this moment in time. Should I take out Duffy or Janssen for Chilwell? I would take out Duffy. But I think he actually could play this weekend against Liverpool. Not that you really care or want him to play, because it is Liverpool after all. But it looks like Dan Burn is out, so Duffy could play. Graham Potter said so himself in the press conference. But I would rather have Janssen, better fixtures, I think. And also with Duffy, he's not really secure in that starting lineup anymore. Janssen is. He's the captain for Brentford, so I would rather have Janssen. Having said that, though, if Janssen's like your fifth defender, he's pretty expensive, I guess, for a fifth defender, but I'm guessing you have Livramento already. But yeah, short answer is get rid of Duffy instead. Should I transfer out Benrahma if you suggest one under 6 million? I have Rafinha, Douglas Luiz. Douglas Luiz isn't really someone I'd want to start. He's pretty much always on my bench. Under 6 million, I probably would say Mbeumo still. Of course, let's see if he's actually going to play. Thomas Frank he wasn't completely firm on him starting. He was just basically saying he has a good chance of being available. Let's wait and see. But if not, I mean, Gallagher, not really thinking about him too much anymore. Not really interested at this moment in time. Of course, that could change once again. Maybe Smith Rowe could still be a decent one. And Gray or Townsend, those are the ones I'd be looking at. Kovacic, of course, is actually out. That's another kind of news that broke out today, I think. He's going to be out. That's a big blow for Chelsea, I think. He's one of their best players at the moment. So, yeah, I think I'd go for either Smith Rowe, Mbeumo, or potentially one of those Everton midfielders that I discussed. And of course, it looks like Doucouré could actually make a actual quicker recovery than expected. So that's also good news for Everton. Let's see. I just missed the question. I did Antonio to Tony now. I have Tony, Jimenez, Kane. Fair enough. I think getting rid of Antonio, though, this week could be a mistake. Just my personal opinion. Of course, Martinez, it looks like he's not going to be playing because he had like a family emergency. He travelled to Argentina. And just in general, Aston Villa have been very poor defensively. So I think Antonio could have a field day. And he was rested in the Carabao Cup victory against Manchester City. And by the way, what a result that was for West Ham. What's the chance Jesus plays for Man City? I think he'll start, but then again, of course, it is Pep. We never know, to be honest with him, but I think he will start. I wouldn't be able to give a rating, maybe 70-80%, but that doesn't really mean much, to be honest. Would you keep triple City, or do you plan to move from double City defence for a Son move? That's a good question. I think 2 or 3 City players is fine, to be honest. I think they offer great value, especially in defence. I am thinking about moving Diaz on, but personally, I might still keep both of them. I can just literally downgrade Vardy, for example, to Huang or Broja, should I say, and then get Son in the midfield. So I don't need to downgrade Diaz, but it is a possibility, to be honest. And hopefully, of course, Pep was talking about Zinchenko. He said he needs him for the season. So many games coming about, which isn't really too promising for Cancelo or Walker, but I do expect Cancelo to start this week. Who to start, Cody or Gray? A good question. I probably would start Gray, but yeah, I'm not really too confident in either of them. Brentford defence, viable with Raya injury? Good question. Of course, we just don't know that yet. We haven't had any experiences with Raya out to kind of give a concrete answer, but I think they will be a bit affected by that. Raya was very impressive this season, one of the best keepers, if anything, in this Premier League campaign. I think they will be affected, but they can still keep those clean sheets, especially in the kind of easier fixtures. if we look at so far, a lot of tough games for Brentford, yet they've done pretty decent defensively. So I think they'll be fine, or at least they won't do too badly, but they will be affected a little bit. Any updates on Christensen? He's been training, Ali. Same with Azpilicueta and all of these other doubts. The only kind of absentee really that we have in terms of major FPL news is Kovacic, and of course Lukaku and Werner. They could be out until after the international break, which is something that I was talking about in, I think, last week or something. I think it was the Telegraph that reported it, so not too surprised about that, but Christensen is fine. 6 million can be Townsend, it could, but then again, I'm not too confident in Townsend. Who would you play if Mbeumo is fit? Mbeumo or Rudiger? I'd still play Rudiger, to be honest. Mbeumo might have the higher ceiling, but Rudiger for me. Kobe. Sanchez, Trent, Rudiger, Cancelo, Livramento, Foden, Salah. Son, Rafinha, Mbeumo, Antonio this game week. A 4-5-1, yeah. Antonio could be really good. I like that midfield, of course. Rafinha and Mbeumo could come off the bench, which is a bit worrying, but that's a good team, to be honest. Lipok says, I'm with you there on Foster instead of Ramsdale, especially since it's a derby. That's a great point, actually. Yeah, okay, so apologies. So I did actually make one change from my team selection. I brought in Foster into my starting lineup ahead of Ramsdale. I did this yesterday. Just looking at the game with Vardy being fit, with Tielemans' form, and Leicester, I'd say, picking or turning a corner in recent weeks. Or should I say the last week, actually. So many games coming for them. But I think Leicester will score maybe a goal or two at least. And I think Foster, with the good recovery they made against Everton, maybe Ben Foster has a better chance of a clean sheet. But then again, I wouldn't be too surprised if Southampton score. I'm not too confident in either of them at the moment. But then again, I do have Vardy up front. It is a bit of a conflict of interest there. And hopefully I don't jinx Ramsdale, basically, by starting him. So at the moment, I've got Foster. But then again, it could go either way. Hi Dylan, would you start Sarr versus Southampton or Mbeumo? That's a tough one, honestly. That's a really tough one. I would start Mbeumo, but the problem there, I'd say, is if Mbeumo doesn't start, which is a possibility. And in that case, of course, I'd rather have Sarr. But assuming they both start, I would rather have Mbeumo. Kevin says, hey, good evening. How's it going? Please, who would you start? Armstrong or Mbeumo, considering I have Foster and Tony? Good question. I would rather start, to be honest, Mbeumo, because I would suspect Armstrong will start, but then again, he might not. It could be Che Adams, who had a good performance recently, so I'm not too sure about that one, but I probably would go for Mbeumo. It could go either way, though. I still like Pinnock and Janssen for attacking returns and fixtures. Same. There's also Henry, of course, at 4.5 million. But yeah, I think Brentford could still offer good value, but of course, not as appealing with Raya being out for 4 months. Should I take a -4 to bring in Foden for Sarr? I think Sarr could do well this week, but I would actually do it in your situation. Chilwell with a -4, it depends who you get rid of, but I think Chilwell could actually be worth that hit, especially if he can maintain that spot in the starting 11 in the long term. So I think it could be worth it. And obviously, thank you so much to everyone who has been tuning in, and obviously it's free. Just smash the like button if you haven't already, and subscribe if you're new. It really helps out the channel, of course, so very much appreciated. But let's go back to your questions. Will Pep Guardiola play Kyle Walker along with Cancelo? Yeah, I think they pretty much played 45 minutes each. This is the thing though, Zinchenko is now fully available, probably fully fit, so he could start as well. I'm not too sure if both of them will, to be honest. And from City defence, I've always said it, I'd rather have Cancelo and Diaz, because the other ones, I don't know, just don't get as many bonus points, not as nailed as those lot. But of course, Cancelo, maybe he's not going to be that nailed going into the future. Start 2 out of Sarr, Livramento, Azpilicueta, Jimenez, definitely Azpilicueta, and I'd probably start... Oof, that's a tough one. Probably Jimenez, and if not, Sarr. All of them are good though. Livramento, of course, is a good option. Captaining Havertz until he gets a double digit. You might be waiting for a long time, Basanta, mate. But of course, if you think he's going to do well, then go for it. I actually included him in my best free hit team for Game Week 10. I think he's actually going to do well. Newcastle concede a lot of chances to central strikers. So Havertz could actually be in for a big haul. When's the deadline? It's tomorrow, Zoran. I just make the deadline stream on Fridays because I put polls out and people prefer it on the Fridays. Obviously, not everyone. And unfortunately, I can't cater to everyone, but maybe at some point I could do a separate stream on a Friday night and also on the Saturday morning. Pay Livramento and roll transfer, or bench him and do Armstrong to Tony? That's a great question, Aban. I would do Armstrong to Tony anyway, because I think Tony's an upgrade, and when Broja is back, because I don't think the injury is too serious, Armstrong is going to be another headache again. So he could do really well this week, Armstrong, but long term, I think you're just making a really good move there. I wouldn't mind playing Livramento, but I would make that move to Tony. Let's see where. Apologies, the chat just refreshed. Dylan, Emi Martinez is back and has trained with Villa. Quote from Smith: "I have no worries about his availability." Thank you very much, Harry, for the correction. I'm pretty sure that probably happened in the last few hours then, because I didn't see anything. But obviously, thank you very much. And still really confident in Antonio, though, if I'm being honest. So that doesn't really change my mind too much. But if Emi Martinez was out, then yeah, that would be just crazy. I think his father's fine, by the way, Martinez, so that's why he came back. Will Mbumo and Azpilicueta start next match? I think Azpilicueta will. He has been training since his shoulder injury. And as for Mbumo, I think he will, but I'm a bit less sure about Mbumo. Would love Foster penalty save. That would be amazing, wouldn't it, Singh, to be honest? Hey Dylan, how are you, lad? Just joined your stream. Is this your final team? Pretty much, because I've already taken a hit. The only change I could make potentially is with my bench. So Ramsdale could come in for Foster, and maybe with my substitutions, Townsend could be my first sub. I'm a bit concerned about benching Townsend, to be honest, but yeah, I think those could be the only changes. But then again, though, in terms of my starting 11, just the goalkeepers, that could actually be subject to a change. Triple captain for Mo, what do you think? Honestly, with the form that Salah is in, you could honestly triple captain him against anyone, but it is Brighton. I think he tends to do well against them, to be honest, but I don't think I would be going there. Maybe if, for example, Salah faces Norwich at home, then yes, I would be very tempted, or if they have a double game week. So that's what I'm kind of eyeing up at the moment. Sup M says, hey Dylan, I'm thinking of 2 free transfers, Diaz to Trent and Douglas Luiz to Mount. Your thoughts? That looks really good on paper, of course, but then again, you might have a case of 8 attackers in that case with 5 midfielders and 3 strikers, which I don't think is very necessary. But of course, Mount is a big upgrade on Douglas Luiz, and if you already have Cancelo, I think Diaz to Trent makes absolute sense. So assuming you have a good team structure, you've already got a bench fodder option, then I'd definitely go ahead with that. And if you have enough money, I would rather have Foden over Mount, but maybe you have him already. Kobe says, thoughts on doing Decore to Cornet? I actually think that could be a really good punt. Cornet, actually, I haven't mentioned him too much, but really impressive against Southampton. Really good goal. That volley was very, very well taken. So I actually like the idea. Obviously, we all have these kind of conceptions about Burnley, but I think Cornet could be really good playing up front for Burnley. So definitely keep an eye on him, and that could actually be a good move, to be honest. I have Diaz and Walker. Is it worth transferring one of them to either Chilwell or Rudiger? I already have Aspie. Yeah, I think so, to be honest. I would rather get rid of Walker because Diaz is more nailed than Walker and he tends to get more bonus points. So I'd get rid of Walker. Of course, this season Walker has played a lot, but I think with Zinchenko coming back, it could maybe mean sometimes Cancelo plays as a right back and Walker's benched, of course. I'm just speculating. We don't know what Pep is going to do, but I'd rather have Diaz ultimately. And I would go to Chilwell at this moment in time. With Mbumo still a doubt, would you start Smith Rowe or Livramento, or just keep Mbumo in the starting 11? I'd start Mbumo in your situation. If not, I'd start Livramento. Smith Rowe could do alright against Leicester, and of course Smith Rowe has been probably one of Arsenal's best attackers this season, but I would rather go for Livramento or Mbumo. Let's see. Apologies if I missed out a lot of questions or comments at this point. Oh yeah, and John, you mentioned Pulisic. Yeah, I think he's back also. Do you think Brentford still have a good chance of keeping clean sheets? Says Zoran. Yeah, I think I answered your question already. I think they do, just not as great as before. Nabil says, rate this team: Sanchez, Raya, Janssen, Diaz, Duffy, Reguilon, Trent, Salah, Sarr, Benrahma, Basuma, Saka, Antonio, Juan, Jesus. 1 free transfer with 5.5 million in the bank available. Yeah, so obviously Raya is injured, so you could easily downgrade him to Foster, for example, or move him on to Ramsdale, and then you have 2 good goalkeepers there. I think it's a good team. I don't like Reguilon, if I'm being completely honest. And Duffy, obviously, he's just a bench fodder option, but just to kind of highlight some improvements or way to improve your team, Nabil, I would get, for example, Livramento in for Duffy, or if not, Ben White, when he's fully fit. Obviously, he does have a bug at the moment. Instead of Reguilon, looking at your team, I would definitely get a Chelsea defender. I think you're missing out there. So Chilwell, Rudiger, Azpilicueta, take your pick. I think those are the best 3 you can go for right now. It's definitely Chilwell with his hot streak. Looking at your midfield, I like it, but instead of Sarr, I'd probably be looking to get Foden and instead of Benrahma, I'd get Son. And maybe with all those transfers I just suggested, you might not have enough money to get Son as well. So that could require downgrade, maybe Jesus, for example. But you could always do Jesus to Vardy, or if not, Son for Benrahma, like I said. So those are the ways to improve your team, but the rest is really good. Saka is another one I'm not too convinced by. I got rid of him just now for a hit, but still, it's a good team. And if I had to pick, I probably would prefer having Benrahma over Saka. But then again, you do have Antonio already. Any plans on watch along for Arsenal versus Watford? Good question. Probably not, Sing, and obviously that is for game week 11, isn't it? But I'll let you guys know if I do think of something like that. The problem is I do stream the games, and the internet could cut out, and I don't know if that's really too ideal from a viewing perspective. But of course, if it is possible, and if I think it's going to be worthwhile and something that everyone wants to see, then of course I'll definitely consider it. Do I take a hit for Rudiger or Chilwell long term? I'd say Chilwell. Rudiger, once again, just to stress this, I think he might be the better long term option, more nailed. But I think Chilwell for the foreseeable future is going to be nailed fairly, at least as much as you can as a wing back in a Thomas Tuchel team. And I think Chilwell is just looking really good at the moment. Harry says, yeah, had my vice captain on Antonio until I heard Martinez is in contention. Yeah, still a good option though, I think, for the captaincy, but probably a bit further down than before. Welcome Rock and Roll for tuning in. Thank you very much. And once again, to anyone, if I haven't responded to your question, apologies. You can put it forward once again. All I ask is that you don't spam the chat. Hi Dylan, would you go for Diaz, Cancelo or Chilwell? Still Cancelo at this moment in time, but looking at the form, Christian, I would say Chilwell is looking the best of the three. But Cancelo at the moment, I just really like it. What's your highest and lowest points so far? So good question, Basanta. Highest points, I think I did hit triple digits this season. So let me actually get this up and give you a concrete answer rather than just second guessing, because I haven't actually thought about this. So I don't think game week 9 was my highest. Wow, yeah, we've seen some low scores recently there. That's why I've kind of gone down the ranks. Yeah, 102 in game week 1. So game week 1, a really good start. I was in a game week rank of around 250k. That was my best game week of the season so far, and the worst, so pretty consistent at the beginning, first 4 game weeks, first 5 actually. Then a little dip from game week 6 all the way to game week 8, and I did play my wildcard in game week 8. So I think 40 is the lowest in game week 7. Unless I can't count. So yeah, that's the answer there, Basanta. Not too bad, I guess. But yeah, I think I've made some mistakes. A bit of bad luck along the way, but you need luck on your side ultimately to do well in FPL. So you can't complain too much unless it really powers on. Rafinha looking good to play, says John. Yeah, exactly. And I made a really big, I'd say, risk, or I took a big risk by taking a hit already so early on the Saturday, getting rid of Saka when Rafinha was an injury out already on that day, and of course the following day Vardy picked up an injury, or at least felt something in the warm-up against Brentford, but hopefully he's all good. Not FPL related, but Force and United not sacking Ollie, for me it's a total incompetence from our board. Good to see you again, Ty, obviously a long time viewer of this channel. Yeah, I do feel a bit for Ollie, but there's no time for sentiment, especially at a big club like United. I think there's kind of, yeah, as you say, just no proper management there, and they don't know what they're doing, or maybe they're just trying to buy themselves a bit of time to get a replacement. And to be fair, when you're not too sure about a replacement, or you're trying to find the best replacement possible, there's no point just sacking someone now when it could be even worse under an interim, although a lot of people would argue it could be a manager bounce. But I think, yeah, it does show incompetence. And I've been saying this for even 2 years ago when Ollie was doing a decent job, and he has done a good job overall. But I think he's just not the right man to take United to titles. But he has done a good job with players like Shaw, Greenwood, Bruno Fernandes, and he has, I'd say, turned the fortunes a bit from the kind of toxicity towards the end of Mourinho's reign, and he built a good atmosphere. But I think they need someone else to take United to the next step. And to be fair, I think United are in desperate need for a number 6, like a Fabinho, for example, who can control the midfield and break up the play, because relying on Fred and McTominay a lot, to do that dirty work is just not working, to be honest. And it might sound a bit funny, but I think Fred could do a decent job in a Man City or a Liverpool, but not for the kind of job United are looking for. But then again, I don't rate Fred, just to make that clear. Not that he really cares, does he, to be honest. Do you think Christensen will start tomorrow? Yes, Zoran, I think he will. Obviously, I can't say that with any certainty, but I think he will. Hey, who to start? 2 players to start from: Hwang, Townsend, Sarr, Mbumo. I would start Good question. I would start Sarr and Mbumo, but that could be very, very risky. Lipuk, a Liverpool fan, I believe, says Ollie in. Yeah, I went to the Arsenal-Leeds game the other day, and Leeds fans were saying Ollie's at the wheel. I think even West Ham fans or City fans were singing out West Ham. It's crazy. Will Rafinha play? I think he will. Based on the comments we've been getting, I think he will. As for Mbumo, that's where I'm a bit unsure. But as for Rafinha, of course, don't hold me to this. It's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I think Rafinha will play. Tony plus Vardy or Tony plus Foden for a -4. I'd say at this moment in time, Tony and Foden. But then again, I might just be kind of being bought into this City hype and it could end up in tears. Rafinha on holiday in Brazil, says John. Oh, no, I hope you're wrong about that. I hope you remember me, says Melvin. Yep, Salah hat-trick. I want to get Chilwell for Jamie Vardy, but his price rise forcing me not to. Should I? For James, sorry. I don't know. I'm obsessed with Jamie Vardy because he's going to score a brace against Arsenal tomorrow. Look, so Reece James, I can understand why some people are a bit concerned. He might not start in game week 10. He just started 2 games in a row. I would rather have Chilwell. So I think it is actually a worthwhile move. So I would go ahead with that. Antonio to Tony, it makes sense. JCND, but at the same time, Antonio against Villa, I wouldn't want to get rid of him. And also, in game week 16, I think it is, I need to double check that, the fixtures are really good for West Ham, so I would honestly not get rid of him. Why don't you go with elite keepers like Mendy Edison, says Basanta, because honestly, you're spending 6 million plus on a goalkeeper, but for a similar price, you can get Chilwell, you can get Reece James, Rudiger, Azpilicueta, of course, Diaz, Cancelo, and they can get more bonus points than those keepers you mentioned, and also more attacking returns, of course. So I don't see a need to get a 6 million keeper or over, but I'd say this season, it's a bit more, I'd say, debatable than in seasons gone by. And you can always find, like for example last year with Martinez, a 4.5 million goalkeeper who just offers such great value. They outscore the 6 million goalkeepers and get more bonus points, so there's not really a need to get these premiums. Of course, you can go for them if you want, but I think that the defenders offer better value. Welcome, Yurang. Tuning in only now. No problem, mate. We only started less than half an hour ago. Is it worth transferring out Antonio to fund for Foden with 2 free transfers? It could be, especially if you're getting, for example, Tony. But still, I would rather keep Antonio this week. Ahead of Liverpool in game week 11, maybe. Then again, I think Antonio is somewhat fixture-proof. But yeah, I wouldn't really want to get rid of him. Who wins? Spurs versus United, says David. I think United. I know a lot of people think Spurs are going to win, and maybe, this is a good time to play the Red Devils, but I think they're going to produce a little reaction. And if not, it could be a draw, maybe a 2-2 or something, but I'm backing a bit, I think, United, to be honest. Will Azpilicueta start, says Elliot? I think so. I got rid of him for a hit, but I still think he's going to start. Kane or Son? Son for me, mate. Matic. Foster over Ramsdale. Dylan, thanks for any advice, says the Scrambler. It's a tough one. I haven't fully settled on it yet, but I think Foster has a slightly better chance of a clean sheet looking at the fixture. I think Leicester, if it was a week ago, before that United game where they kind of turned their fortunes around, I probably would have started Ramsdale ahead of this, but I can see Leicester scoring 1 or 2. With Southampton, I think they can score maybe 1, but I think Watford have a better chance of a clean sheet. Will Jota start? It's a really good question. I wish I could answer it. I think he will, but then again, it could be Mane coming in, maybe Firmino being benched this time, and Salah playing on the right. So that's what I think could happen. But if not, it will be Mane, Firmino, and Salah with Jota on the bench. But I have a feeling Firmino could be on the bench for this one. Of course, it's just my opinion. Let's see. Great watching you again, mate. Should I get James instead of Chilwell, as it gives me more money left over after transferring out Rafinha to Foden? I would still rather have Chilwell, to be honest. Yeah. But obviously, it's up to you what you go for. Reece James is still a good option. Some people think he's fairly nailed, at least more so than Chilwell in the long term, but I'd rather have Chilwell at the moment. Jota to Foden or Bernardo or Mount? Foden for me. Bernardo's really impressive this season, especially from an FPL perspective at 7 million, but still Foden for me, then Mount, then Bernardo. Forson Armstrong, he could do really well in game week 10, but still long term, the kind of same issues arise, the same headaches. When Brocha is fit, maybe ahead of game week 11, Armstrong's position in the starting lineup is in jeopardy, so not really thinking about that. Who is the most underrated FPL player currently? Someone asked me this, I think, a few weeks ago. So are you on about FPL managers or FPL players? I'm guessing you're asking about managers. It's a good question, to be honest. I'd have to think about that one, to be honest. I'm not too sure. But there are plenty of underrated players, I'd say. Spurs United is definitely a 0-0 draw, maybe, But I think there will be goals in that one, to be honest. I could be wrong, though. Who to start between Emi Martinez and Sanchez? I would start Emi Martinez, to be honest. Will Basuma start? Says Cherie. Has there actually been any news about Basuma? Because wasn't he... I think he's available now, actually. I haven't seen anything about Basuma, so apologies for that. Let me check now. I've got a document in front of me right now. Yeah, I think Basuma is available, isn't he? Let's see. Yeah, he appeared recently. Yeah. I think Basuma will start. He's so important to Brighton, isn't he? But yeah, obviously, I'm not too sure about that. Of course, he had that thing a few weeks ago, didn't he? Where I don't know if he what was he in jail or something? I'm not even sure, to be honest. So many kind of prison sentences flying around at the moment, but I think he will. Let's see. Apologies if I haven't read out your comment. I'll try to get back to everyone. Wow, Chuka says, I like your face, Dylan. Thank you very much. A lot of people say I look like Werner, Marco Reus, De Gea, all these sorts of people. So obviously appreciated, much appreciated. Your thoughts on your game tomorrow versus Leicester? I think Arsenal in their form can win, but Leicester also in some form. Yeah, I'm not too confident, to be honest. I know Arsenal, if you actually look at the last 20 games in all competitions, Arsenal have kept the most clean sheets, 10, alongside Liverpool. And I'm not sure how many goals they've conceded, maybe 8 or something. So very impressive from Arsenal. But at the same time, Leicester are in good form. I think it's going to be a draw or a Leicester win, to be honest. Then again, I did say I think Villa are going to beat Arsenal last week. So you never know. Yeah, I think a draw is likely or a Leicester win. Captain Havertz last week over Salah. Is it worth keeping him? Yeah, if you got him in, obviously Norwich was the main attraction. But Newcastle and Burnley, for example, they're good fixtures too. So I'd keep him. Who will be a bigger rank killer this week, Livramento or Foster? Oof, the way Livramento's going, probably him, but I don't know if Foster's going to be a rank killer. Who will be a bigger... Oh, yeah, just read that. Jesus, what's wrong with me? Thoughts on bringing in Son, Rico, Henry, and Jesus for Diaz, Lukaku, and Rafinha, -4. Oh, shit, nearly a voice crack, and apologies for the PG, non-PG word. Rafinha I wouldn't get rid of, especially for a hit this week, because if he does start, I think he could be, in for his biggest haul of the season against Norwich. And Diaz is a good option still. Of course, Lukaku's out for several more weeks, so that makes sense. And I like the players you're bringing in, but I'm not too sure if it's the right time to do Rafinha to Son. Because if you look out on paper, Rafinha's probably going to outscore the South Korean. So I'm not too sure about that. But the overall transfers, you could maybe make them ahead of game week 11, or make one transfer this week and then make the other 2 next week. That's what I'd probably do. Who should I start, Townsend or Aspi? I'd start Aspilicueta, genius gamer, no doubt about it. Let's see. You trust Tony too much? Perhaps, to be honest, but I just think he's going to start turning around his form a little bit. But we'll wait and see, of course. I'm open to Hwang and Brocha, for example, around a similar price point in the next few weeks, I'd say. Get rid of Armstrong or Rafinha? I'd say Armstrong. I think this week, Armstrong could do well, but I'd rather have Rafinha long term. Even then, though, he is on the chopping block for me. If you still have United players on your team, delete your account immediately. I'm not too sure about that. I think Greenwood could do all right this week. Same with Ronaldo. Not too. I mean, Luke Shaw, actually, I'm actually thinking about it now. In the last 20 games, United have kept 1 clean sheet in all competitions. So, yeah, United defence, I'd definitely hop off. Oh, wow, here we go. You look like Mason Mount, mate. Yeah, I got that last week, I think. People are like, your eyes look like Mason Mount. I'm like, really? Yeah. Piss off. Nah, but yeah, maybe I do look like Mason Mount. No one's actually told me that before. Actually, no, yeah, they have. One person. The same guy who, back in the 2018 World Cup, when they saw Werner, this guy looks like you, mate. I'm like, yeah, thank you very much. Can Salah be benched? Not necessarily sure about game week 10, but I think in certain game weeks, yeah, he can be. But I think he'll start in game week 10. Livramento or James, who should I start? That's a tough one. I'd still start James, because if James does start, you'd be kicking yourself because he's probably in for a big haul. But Livramento is more likely to start. There's no beating around the bush there. Should I start Livramento or Gray? Tough one, really tough. I'd probably still start Gray, but that's kind of a personal opinion there. Wanted Foden and Chilwell quite a lot, but involved taking out Diaz versus Palace and Rafinha versus Norwich, and I couldn't afford taking out Saka. So I thought it was a bit overkill. Yeah, I completely agree. It's all about timing, Marco. So I think you're making the right decision there. Have Gray and say Maximan. I need to get either Tony or Foden. Who should I bring in? Good question. I would rather do say Maximan to Tony, based on what you're saying. But then again, yeah, Foden. It's just Foden at the moment. You know what? I'd go for Foden. I think he's shown a bit more than Tony. Would you do a straight swap from Havertz to Mount this week? Would you do a straight swap from Aspie to Chilwell this week? Good questions. I think Aspie to Chilwell is worth it. I wouldn't be getting rid of Havertz. I think he could get a haul. He did score in the Carabao Cup, so I don't really think about that. Oh, thank you, Robin, calling me Dylan Mount. Oh, Jesus. I sold Vardy for Tony 2 days ago to get benefit of price rise. Now I want to get him back instead of Antonio for next game week against Leeds. Is that a waste of a transfer? Especially if it's a hit, I'd say so, Anas. But then again, they're all good strikers. They could all do well. I probably would just stick with what you have at the moment and then reassess after game week 10. Best midfielder around 5.5 million. Probably Smith Rowe, because obviously you look at Gray, you look at Townsend and Mbumo. They're slightly more expensive than 5.5. So I'd probably say that. Sudindra says Sanchez, Diaz, Rudiger, White, Cody, Duffy, and Mbumo, Rafinha, Salah, Gray, Antonio, Vardy, Ronaldo. I have 1 free transfer and 1 million in the bank. What transfer would you suggest? Honestly, I think what you could start doing, maybe just not make a transfer this week, but I think Ronaldo, for example, to Tony or someone really cheap. You already have Vardy as a kind of placeholder for a premium striker. Then going into game week 12, you'll have enough money to upgrade any of your midfielders really to Heung-min Son, and I think you're in a good position there. So I would do that. And another thing you could do is get Trent Alexander-Arnold, who I still think he's the best defender in the game. So get Trent in defence, get Son in midfield, and downgrade Ronaldo substantially, and you can afford all of those moves, I believe. Rice or Townsend? Definitely Townsend. Rice is not going to offer you too much attack and returns. Having said that, though, Townsend might not be doing as well in future game weeks as he was at the beginning of the season, but definitely still a better option than Rice. Grealish or Foden or Gundogan for this week? Good question. I think Gundogan could do well, but Foden is my pick of the three and also going forward. Akram says, or let me try to get the name right. Mizmail, hopefully I've pronounced that right. Apologies if I didn't. 2 wildcard last week, and now I face injuries. Raya, Aspie, Mbumo, and Broja have 1 free transfer. What to do? Should I simply replace Raya with Fernandez, hold Aspie, or let go? Want to replace also KDB? Who would you suggest? Son for sure. If you're looking for a premium or borderline premium, then definitely Son. I'm assuming you have Salah already. As for the rest, you could also just get Sanchez or Ramsdale for Raya. I think that solves the problem. And I think Mbumo's fine. He could start. Broja's out for this week, but you can always bench him. So it's not the worst case in the world, I think. But yeah, I'd recommend those sorts of players. Best Raya replacement in your opinion? Yeah, Gaeta's a good one actually. Palace are putting up some decent defensive numbers. I think over the last 4 to 6 game weeks, I believe, they're actually 4th in terms of the best expected stats defensively. So that could actually be a shout. I think Gaeta is an option, but if not, you can just go for Ramsdale or Sanchez. They're still my 2 picks. Thank you very much to Abhishek Singh. Hopefully I pronounced you right. If not, apologies. Livramento, Rudiger, Cancelo, Azpilicueta, Trent, Mbumo, Rafinha, Salah, Havertz, Gray, Jesus, Saint-Maximin, Antonio. Thinking of no transfer. What will be the starting 11? Thank you very much for the super chat. You didn't have to, mate. Much appreciated. It's a good team. In terms of starting, okay, so trying to narrow it down, I'd start Rudiger, Cancelo, Trent, and Aspie, to be honest. I'd start all 4. I would start Rafinha, Salah, Havertz, and probably, Jesus, Antonio, and I think you need one more player, and I would go for Mbumo, probably. Yeah, that's what I would do as your starting 11, and it's a good team. Obviously, going forward, you could make a few changes, but I think for your starting 11, I would do that. Thank you very much once again for the super chat. Rudiger to Chilwell for a hit. You know what? Rudiger's a really good option long term. You don't have to take the hit, but what I would say about that is that it's not actually a sideways move, as I was talking about probably in my team selection video. Chilwell at the moment is pretty much playing as a left winger. The positions he's getting into, the goal scoring form he's in, I don't expect him to keep that up, but I still think, in terms of his assists, he hasn't gotten one this season. I think he could start picking those up as well. So I think it's actually worth it potentially, but you don't have to. You can just wait this week and then bring in Chilwell next week, of course. He's already gone up a bit in price. So yeah, I don't really see a big need to make it this week. You can just do it ahead of game week 11. Johnson, Livramento. I still prefer Livramento, but a good stat I saw actually, Annie, is that Johnson has kept a clean sheet in all 6 appearances for West Ham this season. So he's looking really good, but I still expect Soufal to, make a claim for his place. Rock and Roll says, have you thought of switching your goalkeepers? it has crossed my mind, but I think it would be a bit reactionary. I still preferred Ramsdale over Raya, and I talked about this in my videos prior to Raya's injury, because when Ramsdale doesn't keep a clean sheet, he can still get save points and bonus, more so than Raya and Sanchez. So, in the last few game weeks, for example, Ramsdale has accumulated 3 points in each game week because he can get those save points. So that's what I like about him, especially around his price. And I think he's more likely to get bonus points of the lot. So I still like him. But of course, other players have, crossed my mind, especially Sanchez playing for a good Brighton defence. Marcus says, hi mate, hope you're well. Marco, I read your comment out earlier, and I said that, I think it's the right thing to do. In terms of timing is really important, and I wouldn't, make those transfers this week, especially getting rid of Rafinha, for example. Let's see, what have I missed? So, will Jota start? Says JCND. I talked about this earlier. I think he will, but of course, I can't tell you that with certainty, but I think he might instead of Firmino, for example, and Mane should start. Ismail here. Okay, fair enough, yeah. Tony and Foden for a -4, or Vardy and Tony already own KDB? Good question. I would rather have Tony and Foden, and then long term I'd probably get rid of KDB. I'm 2 million. I started a week late this season for some reason. Can I still finish in the top 100k? You can. There's not that much difference between the different ranks. For example, on the Saturday I was around 250k or 225k, and then on the Sunday I went back up to 99k. So I think you can for sure. Yeah, definitely. Have Aspie and James worth transferring any for either Trent or Chilwell? I probably would transfer out James, honestly. I know it sounds a bit weird, but I would definitely get Trent in, to be honest. Is Matip likely to be benched again? Not so sure about game week 10 necessarily, but I think Matip is not completely nailed, because obviously if he does start every league game, there's a good chance he's going to get injured and break down, as he tends to do. So I think Klopp is now, he's got the depth now to be able to play Joe Gomez, play Konate and play Matip. So he's not someone I would want in my team. Rafinha to Foden -4. Long term it's worth it, but I wouldn't make that move this week, to be honest. Niraj says Sanchez, Azpilicueta, Cancelo, Diaz, Trent, Salah, Foden, Brownhill, Vardy, Tony, Antonio. Would you roll the transfer? Wait, is Brownhill starting? If Brownhill's starting, I wouldn't want him starting, to be honest. But the rest is really good, to be honest. But yeah, you could roll the transfer, but not sure about Brownhill. What would you do with Gallagher? I probably, I would have transferred out this week ahead of their game against City. But yeah, I'd still get rid of him probably. Obviously, he's got some good games. That's the thing. So if you do keep him now, you might as well keep him for another week or two. See how he does in those easier fixtures, but I'm not really too sold on him. Thanks for the help, Dylan. I'm following your plan and saving my transfer this week. Between Mbeumo, Gray, Rafinha, Cody and White, which 4 to start? Thank you, Sudindra, for your comment. I would start Rafinha, Mbeumo. Ooh, yeah, I'd start Cody probably and Gray. I know it's a bit of a conflict of interest there, but I don't see White keeping a clean sheet, to be honest. And he might not even start, but I think he will. Let's see. So should I do Aspie to Chilwell for a free transfer? I think it's worth it, to be honest. But Azpilicueta should start, and he's still a good option. Hi Dylan, if Rafinha blanks against Norwich, would you get rid? I have Mbeumo flagged too. Probably. Rafinha is on the chopping block anyway, but if he does produce a big return against Norwich, then I may reconsider. But then again, a lot of players have done the same thing, like Sarr. So it's not something really to brag about. Ismail says Chilwell, Cancelo, Trent, Aspie, Manquillo, Salah, Mbeumo, KDB, Havertz, Brownhill, Broca, Antonio, Hwang. Whom to hold, whom to let go? Definitely hold on to Salah, Trent, Cancelo, Azpilicueta, Chilwell. You don't need to get rid of those. Then again, though, you could downgrade one of those defenders like Azpilicueta and then upgrade your midfield. But once again, I would probably be looking to get rid of KDB. Maybe not this game week, but you can hold your transfers. Obviously, you might not be in a great position this week with all the kind of injury doubts like Mbeumo and Broca. But KDB can become Son. Then you could potentially be looking at, for example, let's see, yeah, Manquillo, to Livramento, that's a good way to improve your team. So that's kind of already some ideas there. Jimenez to Hwang, then Gray to Foden for a -4. I think it's worth it, Lewis, to be honest. I think Hwang could offer better value for money than Jimenez, but then again, just consider that Hwang has scored 4 goals from 7 shots. Not very sustainable in the long term, but Foden is a great upgrade. Havertz or Son? Definitely Son for me, no doubt about it. Thank you, Niraj. Vishal says, hey, how are you doing? I'm doing well. Hopefully you are too. I am captaining Sanchez, hoping for a hat-trick. All right, yeah, you're not wrong about the goalkeeper, are you? Surely. Your thoughts on Bernardo Silva for the long term? I brought him in instead of Foden to save for an upgrade to Son in Game Week 13. Fair enough. I still prefer Foden, to be honest, but Bernardo's really, really important this season, more so than before. Quality play in real life. I'm not too sure about his goal output, but still a good option. What's your plan for bringing in Son? Now that you ask, I am thinking of something like this. So it might mean getting rid of Vardy. Unfortunately, ultimately, if I want Son, I'm either going to have to get rid of Foden, who I just brought in, and I probably wouldn't want to do that. Salah, never going to happen. Or what I could do is downgrade one of my strikers, either Vardy or Mikel Antonio. So Antonio could become Hwang, for example. Well, to be fair, it goes both ways. So yeah, Vardy can become Hwang, and then, for example, Townsend becomes Son, and Rafinha is still someone on the chopping block, but I could do something like this, and also Diaz could become Pontus Jansson, for example, or Pinnock, or someone else. So I've got different ideas, but I think the easiest way is save, my transfer next week, roll it, go into Game Week 12 with 2 free transfers, and get Heung-min Son and potentially Hwang for one of my strikers, or if not Broca, who should be fit by then. So that's my plan. Let's see. What are you doing next week with your transfers? Yeah, Jimmy, I just talked about that. Hopefully your question's answered. Best 7 million midfielder. Ooh, good question. I think for this week specifically, it has to be Rafinha if he does start. But Bernardo Silva is kind of entering that conversation, to be fair. Most of the options around that price are around 7.58 million, like Foden, Mason Mount, Jota, Havertz maybe. But yeah, other than that, not too convinced by them. But of course, you're going to have to expect inconsistency around that price bracket. I'd probably still be saying Smith Rowe if you want someone really cheap, although just be prepared for a lot of blanks as well, but he could be in for some big hauls at the same time. I think Gray or Townsend are still good options. Decore when he comes back, which could be very soon. Other than that, not too convinced. I think Sarr, once he gets into a bit of form, could be decent. And when he clicks into that Watford team under Ranieri. But yeah, other than that, I'd have to think about that quite a lot, to be honest. I'm not too convinced by the rest. Of course, I might be missing some players there. Let's see what I've missed out. Marco says, thanks Dylan, missed it, sorry, just rewound and heard, thanks mate, need reassurance because this week may be damage limitation already. If Tony, Foden, Chilwell do well, I'm done. Early kickoff again, yikes. Yeah, no problem, Marco, and yeah, early kickoff, I'm never confident, especially when you're facing a good team like Leicester. Let's wait and see what happens, and I think you're making the right decision, even if it might backfire a little bit this week, but the players you're getting rid of, they could easily bite you if you get rid of them. I'm glad I didn't knee-jerk Kovacic in, though. Every single time I've transferred someone, they've got injured the same week. Damn. Yeah, hopefully you haven't transferred Foden or Chilwell, but yeah, I think Kovacic is a bit unlucky. Very surprising, actually, that he got injured, and he's been doing really well this season, but yeah, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Trent and Son, -8, or Trent and Mount, -8. Trent and Son is better long-term. Mount is looking really good for the next two, and he'll probably outscore Son, at least on paper, but Son is the better asset overall. Thoughts on this team: Ramsdale, Foster, Azpilicueta, Diaz, Cancelo, Trent, Rafinha, Mbumo, Salah, Saka, Kane, Jimenez, Livramento, Armstrong. Good luck this week. Thank you very much. Terrific tech. I like the team. We've got a few players in there like Kane who could actually be really good differentials, but I still have my doubts about him. I'd rather have Son. But then again, you've kind of already made your bed. You don't have to get rid of Kane. But if you do want Son, unfortunately, it might require that downgrade. Other than, Armstrong, I'd rather have Tony. Instead of Jimenez, you could get Hwang, for example. Other than that, yeah, Son in the midfield I would go for. You could get Vardy for Kane. That's another thing you can do. I like your defence. Yeah, that's pretty reasonable, to be honest. You don't have to make changes, but you could consider Chilwell, for example. But that's a good team. I'd mainly be looking at those changes there. Are you going for Son or Kane route? Son at the moment. I might change my mind, but I had the opportunity on my wildcard to get Kane in instead of Vardy. I went with Vardy, but I think, yeah, Son is the one I'd want. Do you think Chilwell could be rested in Game Week 10 for the midweek Champions League game? Honestly, he could, mate. He could. But then again, the opposition isn't too difficult. They're facing Malmo away. So I'm not too concerned. But of course, with Chilwell, there's always going to be that, possibility. I realised that when I brought him in for a hit. Start Livramento or Gray? I'd probably start Gray, but not too sure. All your transfers. I've already made 2 transfers that I talked about in my team selection video. I took a hit. I got rid of Azpilicueta and Saka, and I got in Chilwell and Foden. The reason why I did that sideways move from Azpilicueta to Chilwell was to fund a direct move from Saka to Foden. It was both for a -4. Force and triple captain Salah. I think it's the right option to do, but maybe not this week. I think there could be better weeks, for example, when he faces Norwich at home or when he has a double game week. Force on Gray. I still like him as an option around his price, but kind of losing faith in the Everton assets. But then again, when Decore comes back, I think he could do well. Son or Mount? Yeah, Son. I think over the next 2 Mount, but I'd rather have Son. Everyone's sleeping on Kovacic. Well, to be fair, he is injured. To be fair, yeah. Don't triple captain Mo, save it for the double game week. Yeah, or Norwich, to be fair. But good point, John. Pinnock and Foden for Semedo and Adama for -4. I have 0 million in the bank. Ooh, yeah, I think... yeah, I can see what you mean, because Foden could go up again. Maybe not likely. You could just make these moves ahead of game week 11. I think you could be fine, but of course, I'd say go for it. I think it's worth it. James or Chilwell? Still Chilwell for me. Yeah. And same with Bikesh. Yeah, I say Chilwell for me. Nigel says Trent, White, Livramento, Alonso, Christensen. Should I sell Christensen for a Liverpool Chelsea defender? I'd rather get rid of Alonso, mate, because it looks like he's lost his spot. So you could easily go from Alonso to Cancelo if you have enough money, Diaz, or to Chilwell himself. Yeah, and of course Azpilicueta to Rudiger. So I'd go for one of those options instead, rather than getting rid of Christensen. Kane or Son? Son for me, of course. Kane could change my mind with some good performances, but at the moment it's definitely Son. Not Saint-Maximin or Livramento. Oh, start Saint-Maximin or Livramento. I would start... let me just check the fixtures once again, just to remind myself of Newcastle. Yeah, they're facing Chelsea. I start Livramento. I think Chelsea could keep a clean sheet, although I'm not that confident, but yeah, that's what I do. Glad I didn't take a knee-jerk transfer Rafinha and Aspi out. Yeah, I think Rafinha was not someone I'd want to get rid of anyway. Because if there's any chance of him starting, I just want him in my team against Norwich, to be honest. I already have Chilwell, Trent and Cancelo and play 3-4-3. Thoughts on bringing in Chalobah and shifting to 4-4-2. My subs would be Livramento, Tielemans and King. I personally wouldn't do that because Chalobah, yeah, he's been starting a lot of games recently, but I don't expect that to continue. And yeah, especially with the FA Cup coming around in January and the Carabao Cup, which Chelsea could be favourites in, to be honest. I'm not too sure, and I think Chelsea's best back three would include either Thiago Silva, Rudiger, Christensen, or Azpilicueta himself. So yeah, I'm not too sure about that, to be honest. Mount for Rafinha, I wouldn't do that this week. I'd do that next week, if anything. How do you like Twitter Spaces, Dylan? Saw you join one yesterday, and I was in FF Scout today, and think they were quite good. Not sure exactly how they work, but maybe something creators could do more. I think I just joined. I've never actually been in a Twitter space and just listened for a few seconds. But yeah, I mean, obviously something different and something that I might actually do at some point and, build a Twitter community as well. So yeah, it's obviously looking good. A lot of people do it already. So it's definitely something to think about. Thank you very much to True Fandela. Very much appreciated. Hi, mate. James to Chilwell from -4. I have Rudiger. And 2 questions. Say Maximan to Huang from -4. What do you think? Thank you very much for the super chat once again. You didn't have to, but very much appreciated as always. James to Chilwell from -4. I think it could be worth it long term, but then again, if James does start, then yeah, it's a tough one. I probably would do it, but just bear in mind the risks. Either of them could be benched. And as for Say Maximan to Huang from -4, I think... yeah, it could be worth it. But if not, because both of them are from -4, if it's a case where if you make those 2 transfers and that makes it a -4, just make one transfer this week and then make the other one next week. So you could do Semaxman to Huang this week and then do the other one next week. But if this is just separate hits, so overall it would total to a -8, for example, I would definitely not do both of them at the same time. But I think ultimately... you're on the right track. I think both of them are good replacements and you're strengthening your team. But then again, Reece James is a good option. Start Livramento or Saka? I would start Livramento. Pay Livramento or Huang or Mbumo? I would start Mbumo, but just bear in mind there is a risk of him not starting, which obviously is not good at all, obviously. So just bear that in mind. But if he does start, I think he is the best of the lot. And if you haven't already, to everyone, obviously, once again, thank you very much. subscribe to the channel and smash the like button if you haven't already. It really helps out the channel and it's very much appreciated. And of course, thank you very much. We recently hit 7,000 subscribers, and I think it was only in late August, early September where we hit 4,000, 5,000. I've lost count, so obviously that's all thanks to you lot. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, Dylan_RCM. We're almost at 1,000 followers on Instagram, and we're just over 700 followers on Twitter. So obviously very much appreciated to everyone who's been following on there as well. And of course I do enjoy all the communication and all the ideas and everything that we do have. So very much appreciated. Now let's go back to my team. And once again, thank you very much for all the support. Let's get back to your questions. And of course, we've only been going on for an hour. Yeah, time flies when you're having fun, I guess. Hopefully you lot are enjoying it too. Is James playing tomorrow? I'm not too sure, to be honest. Based on the fact he started the last 2 games, I'm not too convinced. If he had been benched against Southampton, then I would have said yes. But now I'm not too sure. Of course, we just never know with Thomas Tuchel. Hey Dylan, bench Walker or James? Or start both, bench Wang? I wouldn't bench either of them, to be honest. Of course, James could be benched himself and come on for a 1-pointer, which is frustrating. I'd probably start both, just in case. And if you had to bench one and you wanted Hwang in there, I'd probably bench James, but I'd start both, honestly. Dylan, if you want to jump on Ronaldo fixtures later, how would you make that move? Well, assuming I keep the team I have now, I think it would involve Vardy. Vardy would become Ronaldo, and I would downgrade probably Diaz to a cheaper defender. That's how I would go about it, but I do want Son. And at this moment in time, I'm not really in a rush to get Ronaldo in. He hasn't shown that much recently, same with Manchester United. Would you transfer out Raya next week to bring in Sanchez? Probably. But then again, if you already have a keeper like Ramsdale, you don't have to. And you can always just get Foster as your second keeper. But if it's a case where you don't really have a first choice per se, then yeah, I'd probably get Sanchez or Ramsdale. Raya to Fernandez will play second goalkeeper Foster and roll the transfer. I'd probably play Foster the second keeper this week and roll the transfer, and then reassess, get more information, and then make a final decision in the weeks to come. Your thoughts on selling Antonio for the next 7 weeks and getting back around game week 16-18 for a striker you think he's a better fixtures and could score more? Obviously risk high effective ownership, but maybe worth it. Of course, it could be worth it. You could do a move from him to Tony, for example. But at the same time, I just think he's a really good option. Around his price, he's the best by far. And he's the highest scoring forward this season alongside Jamie Vardy. So I'd still keep him. But I can understand if you, get off him for a few weeks and then bring him back in. Start Livramento or Mbumo? I'd start Mbumo just in case he does start. But of course, bear in mind, he could be benched. Is it worth taking a hit this week after taking one last week with free transfers used to bring Foden in for Benrahma? It depends who the hit is for, Chelsea Blues, but I think it could be worth it. Just try not to be in this kind of rabbit hole where you keep taking hits every week, but of course you can do so from time to time. What are you doing with Rafinha and Antonio? I'm keeping them for the time being, but Rafinha could be on his way out next week, to be honest. Whoop whoop, let's get Dylan famous as rock and roll. Thank you very much. Very much appreciate it. I mean, I'm pretty happy already with the 7,000 subscribers that you lot have made possible. So, obviously pretty happy with that. Carlton says, your thoughts on my team for Game Week 10. Mendy, Trent, Livramento, Rudiger, Cancelo, Salah, captain, Gray, Gallagher, Son, Foden, Tony, bench, Foster, Antonio, Hwang, Tomiyasu. Yeah, I like it. Mendy's in there, which is pretty interesting. Gallagher is kind of stands out immediately as someone you could get rid of and maybe improve on. But other than that, it's a good team. I wouldn't be benching Antonio this week, Carlton. I'd be starting him over Gallagher. And, Gallagher does play City after all. Of course, I could be wrong about that, but I wouldn't bench Antonio this week. And it's a good team overall, but I'd probably be looking to get rid of Gallagher at some point. And the rest looks fine. Gray's another one you could maybe get rid of, but the midfield overall is solid with Salah, Son, Foden. That's really strong. And then, Tony and Antonio up front and Hwang as well. So, it's a solid front line as well. But, I'd be looking to change the midfield a bit. I thought that was the outro for a second. Not yet, mate. Not yet. Probably in an hour's time, but we'll wait and see. Kovacic replacements, please. Probably Smith Rowe or Mbumo. But, of course, there is a risk he might not start. Hit the like button, everyone. We're all here getting info for FPL. Least we can do is like and subscribe. Thank you very much, Sharang, for your shout-outs as always and all the positive comments and everything, so very much appreciated. Most expensive player ever, says Basanta. Do you mean in FPL? I'm guessing it's Salah when he was 30 million after his record-breaking season, if that's what you're on about. Chilwell over Aspie for sure, I agree, John. Is captaining Vardy instead of Salah wise if all my friends will captain Salah? I would just go for whoever you think is going to get the most points. It sounds very simple, but I wouldn't overcomplicate it. If you think Salah's going to get more points, then just go for him. But if you think Vardy is going to get more points, then the same goes for that. Of course, it is a risk with Salah's effective ownership. If you captain Vardy, he blanks and Salah gets 2 goals against Brighton and most people captain him, then your rank will be severely affected, of course. But, just think about who you think is going to be the best captain and go for them. I feel sorry for people who had Raya plus Foster, who had other fires to put out as well. Yeah, I mean, sometimes FPL is like that, and when it rains, it pours. It's pretty much like that sometimes. Evening, mate. Is Antonio to Tony a viable move? Looking to wildcard in Game Week 12, says Javier. I think it is actually worth it for the next few game weeks, but I still maintain my same belief that Antonio is worth keeping even throughout these tough fixtures. If we actually have a quick look at the fixtures, of course, in Game Week 11, he does play Liverpool. And in Game Week 13, Man City away isn't the easiest, but he did score there last season. He has scored against Liverpool in the past. Chelsea at home is also not too good. I can completely understand why you get rid of him. So there is an argument to do that, then get him back in around Game Week 16 or 18. But yeah, I think he's still worth keeping at the same time. So I think Antonio to Tony is ultimately probably a good move. My bad for that. But yeah, I think I'd probably do that, to be honest. Let's see. Forcho would share minutes more of Alonso than he looks he will. Stressful as James owner, whether he starts or bench and comes on versus Chilwell. Yeah, that's the thing. That's what put me off Chilwell, especially when I wildcarded in Game Week 8. Only 1 week's worth of data with Ben Chilwell. And Alonso started the first 6 game weeks and he started in the Champions League initially. So it's just literally so difficult to predict with Thomas Tuchel. But at the moment, it seems like, Chilwell is the main guy. Let's wait and see if that changes though. Gallagher plus Rafinha out for Foden and Smith Rowe. I think that looks worth it, but I wouldn't get rid of Rafinha this week. Definitely not. I think Gallagher to Smith Rowe is a move you could make this week and then get Foden in next week. Foster or Sanchez in goal? Yeah, I would go for Foster this week. Maybe the Raya replacements is worth a punt. Yeah, I think it could be, but I wouldn't do it this week, to be honest. You could just go for Foster because you look at Ramsdale, he's facing Leicester. You look at Sanchez, he's facing Liverpool. So you'd be looking at the more expensive goalkeepers to really, pay off this week. Do you think Kane will find form? I think he will eventually. Maybe not to the same extent as last season, but I think he will, not be completely useless as he has been for the majority of this campaign, to be honest. Best Rafinha next week. Best replacement. James Ward-Prowse's differential. I think as a Rafinha replacement, I'd either be looking up to a Son or a Foden, or if not, I'd be looking the same names I've been saying before, Mbumo, maybe one of those Everton midfielders like Townsend or Gray. They could still be decent. Smith Rowe potentially. Not really too convinced by the rest, of course. And of course, if you can get to them, Mason Mount, not too bad. Jota and also Havertz. Are there any other players I should consider before getting Foden and Janssen? Instead of Foden, maybe Son, if you can afford it. But other than that, I think Foden is probably the best in class. And as for Janssen, there is Pinnock potentially, or Henry, who's a bit cheaper for Brentford. But other than that, maybe not. It could be Livramento if you don't have him already, or Ben White, but the rest is fine. Play Foster or Ramsdale? At the moment, I'm going for Foster, but I might change my mind, Liverpool. But yeah, I think Ramsdale isn't the worst pick this week. Loving your stream, says MF on. Yeah, I probably butchered that name, but thank you very much, mate. Very much appreciated. Do you think Harry Kane will score against United? I think one of him or Son will. I'm not sure if he will, to be honest. Not that confident, but he could. I'm not so sure if he will. Basanta says 12:45 a.m. here in Nepal. Good night. Thank you very much, and hopefully you enjoyed the stream. Very much appreciate that you joined in. Rafinha or Grealish out next week? Oof, mamma mia. Probably Grealish out and then get Foden. But Rafinha's another one on the chopping block. Foster or Ramsdale for tomorrow? I'm going for Foster at the moment. Sarr to Foden for a -4. I think it's worth it even this week, but Sarr could do well, but I'd still go for it. Will Rafinha play? I think so. I think he will start, but wouldn't be surprised if he's on the bench. May sound scared, naive, or something similar, but as he played midweek and most centre-backs in training, I fit Aspie, right wing-back, Rudiger, Silva, Christensen, centre-backs, and Chilwell and James come on for 1 point, no auto-sub. I'm not sure about Chilwell coming on for a 1-pointer, to be honest. He hasn't done that too often, but because I got him into my team this week, wouldn't be too surprised. Is it worth taking a -4 hit to replace Raya? No. It's a goalkeeper transfer. you'd need a clean sheet and some save points, bonus points, or a penalty save for that to pay off this week. So you can just wait for next week. If you have Foster, play him. That's fine. Hey Dylan, hope you're good, bro. I have Greenwood, so I'm thinking of taking a -4 for Tony and benching him. What do you think? It depends who you get rid of for Tony, but I think it could be worth it, to be fair. And it also depends who you get in for Greenwood. If you're getting in a bench fodder option for Greenwood and you're getting in Tony from -4, I'm not too sure about that, to be honest. Diaz to Chilwell or hold him? I'd probably hold this week. I wouldn't do Diaz to Chilwell. That's something I was thinking about. I didn't want to do Diaz to Chilwell for my own team. Instead, I did Azpilicueta to Chilwell, but yeah, I wouldn't do that this week. Will KDB start? I think he will, Ismail, but you never know. But I think he will. James to Chilwell, I think it's worth it. Did you wildcard this week? No, I wildcarded in game week 8, and at one point I had 14 points in game week 9 until 4 or 5 players saved me. Thank you very much. Hopefully the team does well. I did take a hit this week. That's probably why it looks better than it was maybe a week or so ago. Hopefully it does pay off. I'm looking at Leon Bailey as a possible Rafinha replacement, blank against Norwich, and he is a gone for me. Yeah, I think Leon Bailey could be really good, and got the assist I think against Arsenal. Obviously won the goal, but I think that looks pretty good, to be honest. James to Chilwell, yeah, I think it's worth it. PT FA, and I'm guessing PT for Portugal. Best formation to play for the upcoming game weeks. It's just about the players you play, not the formation. That doesn't really affect your points. It's the players you have. But 3-4-3, 4-3-3, 4-4-2, I'd say they're the best ones. But yeah, doesn't really matter too much. Hwang, Diaz, or Mbuma to start? Definitely Diaz, no doubt about it. Any advice on my team? I'm ranked 984, really impressive. Sanchez, Foster, Rudiger, Duffy, Livramento, Trent, Cancelo, Rudiger, Rafinha, Havertz, Basuma, Foden, Salah, Armstrong, Jimenez, Antonio. Once again, Armstrong to Tony looks like a simple move, but the rest looks solid. Not really a need for a change there. Maybe Duffy. You could get, for example, Ben White or Janssen, Pinnock, etc., Henry. So those are the two I'd highlight. The rest is fine for now. Maybe consider Mason Mount for Havertz at some point, or for Rafinha, but looks good. Dylan, what do you think about Zaha and Crystal Palace fixtures? He is on penalties and free kicks as well. Is it worth considering him? Yeah, but the thing about Palace now is that they're not that reliant on him. They're a better team overall, especially offensively, but not so sure Zaha is the talisman anymore as he was in years gone by, so not too sure. Join late. My team is on 619 with a squad value of 101.2 and no chips used. Thinking of using my wildcard when it is the right time. Yeah, I think the timing of the wildcard is very crucial. You might not be in a position where you need to wildcard, but maybe in the weeks to come you change your mind there. Which two would you bench out of Hwang, Mbuma, Rafinha, Livramento? I would bench Hwang and Livramento probably, but of course Mbuma could be benched himself, so that could backfire. If you want to play it safe, just go for Livramento in the starting lineup. And first or second sub, I would go for... That's a tough one. Probably Hwang first and Livramento second, based on what I saw at Everton and how poor they were defensively. Thank you, Sidintra, for the shout out. Come on, guys, hit the like button. 131 people watching. Very much appreciated. Yeah, this is the deadline stream, as John says. Let's see. Is this your deadline stream? Yes, it is. It is. Most people prefer it on the Friday, but of course, I am open to maybe changing it in the future. Roll a transfer or Aspie to Chilwell. Maybe roll the transfer. You don't have to make that move this week, and it could maybe backfire. Join late. My team is on. Yeah, I read that out. Please read the last game week 24. Me and my country, Pakistan, made history by beating comprehensively India first time in World Cup history, and I made my best and joined the 100 club by making 101 points. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people had a really good week in both ways, in cricket and in football as well. So obviously fair play, and yeah, that score is looking pretty impressive, to be honest. If you knew that Aspie would start, would you have made the transfer out? No. Yeah, I would have still, because I needed that to move Saka to Foden. That's the only reason I made that move. But I expected Azpilicueta to start anyway. Let's see. What else? Yeah, you're wrong. Why are you deleting John's comments? I don't see anything wrong there. Heavily disagree with the take that Raya owners shouldn't take hits to replace him when it's a long-term injury. Yeah, but the point is, like, if you do have Fost on your bench, you could just play him, and even if he gets 2 points, for example, you save points, because ultimately you need whoever you bring in to get a clean sheet and potentially some save points or bonus, or to save a penalty. And I just think you're asking for a bit too much. So ultimately, yes, long term it's worth it, but not for that particular game week. You're going to be losing a few points in most cases. Who's better this week, Mbeumo or Hwang? Mbeumo, I'd say, because of the fixture, but yeah, Hwang, maybe I'm overhyping Brentford a bit too much. I think Hwang is a good option. Then again, though, the stats are a bit unsustainable. Pulisic an option, I wouldn't go there. He's too injury prone, and Chelsea, they can score from all sorts of different sources. Good evening to Richard. Thanks, Dylan. Good luck for this week. Thank you, Jammy boy. If Aspie starts and Chilwell is benched, will you use your temper? I did the same. If he comes on for a 1-pointer, then yeah, I'd be not too surprised. I'd probably laugh it off, as I was doing it in the reaction stream last week. But I knew the risk, and ultimately, once again, it's to get Foden in for Saka. So not really going to have too many regrets. Of course, I'd love Chilwell to start, but Aspilicueta will probably do so as well. Nathan Redmond, thoughts? Missed that open goal, didn't he? But he looked lively, got the assist, and could be someone to consider. But ultimately, Broca is the one I want from Southampton. Should I let Benrahma go for Bernardo? I'd rather have Foden once again, but Bernardo's looking decent, and Benrahma's a decent option too. Between Janssen, Henry and Adja, who is the best Brentford defender? I'd still say Janssen, but I do like Henry as well. I liked how he played against Leicester. Surely you got to go start or first bench Townsend, or you may as well get rid of him if you're not playing him against Wolves. Yeah, but I've already taken a -4 hit, and I'm not going to take another one just to get rid of Townsend, to be honest. Safe to bench Greenwood for Tony. I think Greenwood could do alright this week, but yeah, I think it's an interesting one. I probably wouldn't want to bench Greenwood if I had him, but then again, yeah, I wouldn't bench Tony for Greenwood. Marco says, I fear the back five for Chelsea will be Chilwell. So should I bench? I would still start James personally, but yeah, I don't know. I can see your frustrations or your concerns, but I wouldn't bench any of the Chelsea defenders this week, even if they could be benched themselves. Thank you, Lilovac, for the comments, and good to see you on here again. Keep or get rid of Antonio for next week. Potentially get rid for a few weeks, but then bring him back in ahead of game week 16 or 18. But of course, you don't have to get rid of him. When are you going to make UCL fantasy videos? Probably around the weekend, as I tend to do. Of course, everyone's focusing on FPL right now, and most people will start to tune into UCL during the weekend and then heading into Monday and Tuesday. So that's when the UCL fantasy videos will be out. Don't you think to use the wildcard a little early? No, because I had a lot of issues that, and players that I wanted to get, and I wouldn't have been able to without taking massive hits or playing the wildcard. So I don't really regret it, to be honest. But of course, maybe I made 1 or 2 mistakes on the wild card. Unfortunately, the Son news did push me back, and now I need to make some extra transfers in the future to get him in. Do you expect Mbeumo to start? Yes, but I'm also not surprised if he's going to be benched. What's your take on Son? I think he's the 2nd or 3rd best midfielder in FPL. So yeah, I want to get him in, and I'm looking to bring him in the coming weeks, but I'm not in a rush to do so, at least in the next week or so. Yeah, no problem, Yerang. Foden is a rotation risk. Would you suggest KDB to Foden or Son? Good question. I still would rather have Son long term, but if you could have both, of course, that is the ideal thing. But yeah, still, Foden will probably outscore Son this week if he starts, but Son is the better pick long term. Armstrong or Mbeumo, who to play? I'd play Mbeumo, but of course Armstrong could start this week and do well. What about Odoi? He could be a decent option for the next few weeks, but still a bit concerned about him, long term, and I'd rather have Mount or Havertz, if I'm being honest. Any chance Christensen starts? Of course F9, he could start, but I probably wouldn't, bank on it, but I think he will. Hello mate, new here. Thank you very much, Cad, or Caddy. Very much appreciated. Sell Jota for Foden for a -4. If Jota starts this week, it might not be worth it, but long term, I think Foden is a better option, and the hit will pay off in that way. And Jota is going to be in and out of the team anyway. He's another rotation risk. Bench 1, Mbeumo, Rafinha, James, Cancelo, Sarr. Oh, that's tough. James is the most likely to be benched of the lot, but I'd probably bench Mbeumo or Sarr. Maybe Sarr, but that's a tough one. I think Odoi is good. So do I, but I'd rather have Mount or Havertz, to be honest. Would start Sarr over Ramsdale or Ramsdale over Sarr? Probably, that's a tough one, probably Sarr. Sorry, Dylan, I didn't hear your thoughts. Which two should I start between Cody White and Mbeumo? I would start Cody and Mbeumo. Kids are alright, yeah, but sometimes. Took a -8 hit to get Tony, Foden, Hwang and Chilwell in. Feel dirty, but still got 615 points after the hits. Yeah, I get you, but some good players you're bringing in. But obviously, just try not to take -8 hits every week. I took a -4 myself. Are you getting Son next week? Probably in Game Week 12. I'm not in a rush to get him in. Do you think it's dumb to use both Alonso and Chilwell in my team? It's not dumb. I can see why, but I'd rather just have one of them, probably Chilwell in this case, and someone else. Is 25k good in UCL Fantasy? It is, especially at this stage. Of course, it's early days. You could be in a much higher rank come the end of the season. Do you think it's better to roll the transfer or do Rudiger out for Chilwell? I think you don't have to make that transfer. You could just roll it, but Chilwell has that attacking upside. Salah triple captain, not this week, but, don't let me talk you out of it. If you think he's going to do really well, go for it. But I'm just looking for those double game weeks or Norwich at home, for example. Dylan, love to hear you make a case for Gabriel Jesus moving forward. Look, he's got 5 assists, 2 goals. He's really important this season to Manchester City. He, I'd say, is the first choice right winger for City over Mahrez. But I think the occasional rotation, I think with the Champions League, FA Cup, not Carabao anymore, which sounds strange to say with City, but yeah, I think Jesus is a good option, but I think Antonio's better value, even Vardy, Tony, potentially Hwang, Broca. So still not really in my thoughts, but he is a good option, and we shouldn't completely discard him. Would you do James or Diaz to Chilwell? James. I'd rather keep Diaz, to be honest. Blues FPL. I'm currently benching Mbeumo and Saka. Would you start any of them over Diaz, Jimenez, Rafinha, Livramento and James? No, I wouldn't start Saka of any of them, to be honest. Looking at it, yeah, I'd bench Saka. What would you say about Mason Mount? Well, I've been talking about him in recent videos, but the thing is, if you got in Havertz, I wouldn't be taking him out now and, being reactionary and getting Mason Mount in. With Mount, I talked about him actually in my preview. I was talking about him being one of the best captaincy options this week, but don't expect big hauls every week. He tends to be the player who takes over. Maybe in the next few weeks, he can show a bit more of an explosive side, more an attacking side, more goal contributions, because Werner and Lukaku are out. Having said that, though, he's just going to be ticking over most weeks with maybe an assist here or there, maybe a goal, but don't expect miracles from him. He's a good option and he's worth considering, but I'd rather have Phil Foden, to be honest. Should I keep Ronaldo and Benrahma or transfer them out for Jesus, Tony and Son? It'll be a -8. That's a tough one. I think Ronaldo and Benrahma could do well this week. I probably wouldn't do it this week then. What should I do with Aspie? I'd keep him. He's going to probably start. I can't really say that for sure. Worth taking a hit to do Aspie to Chilwell? It could be worth it, to be honest, but you don't have to take the hit. The reason why I did it myself is because I needed to fund Foden, Saka to Foden, and if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't have taken the hit. Best him in his replacement. Already have Tony and Vardy. I think Hwang could be a good one. Yeah, I'd probably be looking to Hwang or Broca when he's fit. Is Foden a must-have? Not an absolute must-have, but I think he's looking like a really good option. If he can maintain that starting berth, definitely one of the best. Should I do Mahrez to Foden? Yeah, I probably would. AK Music. Prediction to the exact number of your rank next week? Well, I mean, if I could guess that, mate, I might as well guess the lottery. A rough figure, because, to the actual digit would be very impressive. Being a bit optimistic, I did take a hit, so it minimises my potential green arrow. Am I going to get a green arrow? Who knows? Assuming everyone starts, I think maybe a green arrow to 70, around the 70k mark is possible. So pretty much back where I, was a week ago. A good defender for under 5.1 million. Janssen or Pinnock or Henry, one of those Brentford defenders, I'd say. Sanchez or Foster, I'd start Foster this week. Start 2 or Livramento, James, Rudiger and Mbeumo. I'd start Rudiger and James, honestly, but of course, Mbeumo and Livramento could do well this week. Thoughts on Mount for the long term? I think even when the strikers come back, he could sometimes slot into the midfield, but he's going to be in and out of that side. He's not completely nailed, so I'd be a bit concerned about that, but he's going to tick over most weeks whenever he does start. He's got a good record when he does start this season, to be fair. Salah to Foden, Mount, Bernardo or Duffy to Trent? Duffy to Trent, I think, is the best move long term. But if you don't have Livramento. So let's say you have, are going really big at the back. Not too sure about having, Trent, Cancelo, Rudiger, or, Cancelo, all these big assets at the back. I'd want to have one budget option in there, but I think Trent is the biggest upgrade. Bench and Mbumo 2, would you say? Potentially Marco, but yeah, I'd definitely bench Saka. Semedo or Saka to start? Not too confident in either of them, to be honest. Probably, maybe Saka in this case, but not too confident in either. Any good forwards? I only have 8.3 million. Antonio, obviously. If not, Tony or Hwang. Brocker when he's fit. Do you think Christensen will play? I think he will. Who do I start? I have Rafinha, Mbumo, Tony, Janssen and Livramento. Rafinha and Tony. I'm not sure how many you're going to bench, but I would not be benching Rafinha or Tony this week. Lamoyo says, damn bro, we got the same team, just Benrahma instead of Rafinha, but I'm going for Mount. What about 5 defenders? Same team but with Van Dijk and no Mount, Rafinha, Benrahma. Greetings from Cyprus. Thank you very much for tuning in. I wouldn't be getting Van Dijk. I think Trent is enough cover for Liverpool. And, you can go big at the back, but I'd rather just have 4 of them, 3 or 4, rather than 5 big hitters. Livramento is a really good option, really good value for money, and it allows you to spend more money on your midfield or attack. So, yeah, it's a good team. I can see why you're going for Mount, but I don't really see a need to go really big at the back. I think 3 top defenders plus 2 who can rotate, make the midfield stronger. Yeah, I agree, Yarang, to be honest. That's what I'd probably be looking to go for long term. Or maybe take a hit on my last comment. I've taken 1 -4 already this season, already game week 2, 3. Yeah, I think it could be worth the hit, to be honest, the gold head. But you don't have to. The thing is, Chilwell going to be in for the long run. We just don't know that rock and roll. We thought this about Marcos Alonso a few weeks ago, and then he suddenly lost his place. Start 2 of Rudiger, James, Livramento and Mbumo. I answered this already, I believe, and I said Rudiger and James. Start Livramento or Elianusi? I'd start Livramento. Start Livramento, Armstrong or Townsend? I'd probably start Livramento, but if Armstrong starts, I think he could do really well. But yeah, I'd probably start Livramento. Taffel says, do you think this team is good? Ramsdale, Chilwell, Rudiger, Cancelo, Livramento, Grealish, Rafinha, Salah, Jota, Ronaldo, Antonio. I like the team, but I probably would rather have, for example, Vardy or Hwang or one of these players like Tony instead of Ronaldo. And then looking at your midfield, I think you could get Foden and Son in there. I think that would greatly improve your midfield. Also maybe Mount or Havertz potentially. Jota's not the worst option in the world though. I like your defence though. Although what I would say is that you are missing Trent in my opinion. I would really want to go for him. Maybe for Rudiger for example or Chilwell. Bench and Mbumo. I wouldn't be too set on that or too keen on it, but he might not even start himself. Play one of Rafinha, Mbumo or Hwang. I'd play Rafinha. We have the same starting 11. Yeah, maybe that's a good sign. Hopefully we do well this week, but you never know. Who to start, Tony or Mbumo? I'd start Tony, but Mbumo could do well. I think just that injury doubt surrounding Mbumo settles it for me, and I'd definitely go for Tony. I have Cancelo, Chilwell, Trent, James, Foden, Salah, Mount, Hwang, Vardy, Tony. In the main team, who should I bench for Mbumo? Maybe Hwang. But yeah, I wouldn't bench the rest of them, to be honest. You could argue James, but yeah, probably Hwang. I need to start 3 of those, says Hospa. Okay, let's go back up. I start Rafinha, Tony, and Mbumo. I'd risk it with Mbumo, but just bear in mind he might not start. Ronaldo and Douglas Luiz to Foden and Jimenez for a -4 or Saka to Mount. That's a tough one, isn't it? I'd probably go for the -4 actually. Ronaldo could do well this week, bear that in mind. But then again, if Douglas Luiz is your 5th midfielder, you might just create a scenario where you have 8 attackers, and of course, there's nothing wrong with that, but you're going to have benching headaches every week. Saka to Mount looks like a good move, to be honest. But I like that -4, especially, if you have a clear and set 11 with good squad depth, but not too much, if you know what I mean. Pukki or Benrahma this week? I would rather go for Benrahma, honestly. Okay, to go for the Brentford backup goalkeeper, Fernandes, I would wait and see. So if you have Foster, play him. Let's see how Brentford play under Fernandes. Yeah, and then we can reevaluate from there. But of course, Fernandes would be a long-term replacement for Raya. Have Ronaldo, Ings and Antonio as the forwards. However, Trent, White, Livramento, Alonso, Christensen in defence. Should I take Tony or go for defence change? I don't think you need to change your defence. Maybe Alonso to Chilwell or for Cancelo. And Ronaldo, yeah, you can get Tony or someone else, for example. Yeah, maybe Vardy. Yeah, I'd be looking to probably... Yeah, you could play Trent, Christensen, Livramento this week. Even White isn't the worst option in the world. So, yeah, I'd probably prioritise the striker change first and then get in Chilwell for Christensen. Everybody starts to have very similar teams now. Yeah, obviously the wild cards is where it can differentiate a little bit, but a lot of people wild carded in game week 7 and 8, and also game week 4, I think. Mahrez to Havertz, Son for a -4. Son for me, still long term. It's the better move. Might not pay off in the next 2, but I'd go for that. Elyounoussi out for a Mbumo or for a hit, despite him, Mbumo possibly being injured. It's a risk though, isn't it? You could always just play someone else from your defence, midfield or attack instead. But if not, if you're not really too confident, then yeah, you could just go for the hit. Just bear in mind the risks there. If James or Chilwell or Foden don't start, my Mbumo would have chance. I'm confused. It's obviously a bit... I'd find it very strange if all 3 were benched at the same time and Mbumo. So don't be too worried, I think. Ramsdale or Foster? At the moment, I'm going for Foster. The reason why is because I think Leicester are going to score at least a goal, maybe even 2. And, you know, Tielemans is in great form. Leicester have turned the corner in the last week or so, beating Manchester United, winning in the Europa League and, you know, winning the Carabao Cup on penalties, winning in the league again. So, yeah, I'm backing Leicester, to be honest. And I think they could get a draw or a win against Arsenal. Arsenal haven't been too convincing. White could be out as well. And if he is with that bug, then I'm even less confident of Arsenal doing the business. So I would probably start Foster. I might change my mind though, because originally, I'm mixing 2 words there. Originally I had Ramsdale in the starting 11, so it's a tough one, but at the moment I'm going for Foster. Any suggestions? McCarthy, Shaw, Christensen, Laporte, Marcel, Williams, Rafinha, Gray, Salah, Son, Basuma, Antonio, Ronaldo, Jimenez, says Robin. Instead of McCarthy, I honestly would rather have either Sanchez or Ramsdale. Looking at our defence, sure, I mean, yeah, I'd get rid of him. Christensen's fine, even Laporte. Marcel's fit, I think, for this game week. Williams is not the best option. If you have a wild card, I probably would use it, to be honest. But if you don't, then I'd be using free transfers to improve things. I like your midfield with Salah and Son, but I would probably change quite a bit in that team. When do you think Norwich season will turn around for Pukki to get into FPL? I don't even think it's going to turn around, to be honest. But if it does, you'd probably be having to look at their fixture run. So let's actually check Norwich's fixtures. I can't really imagine a scenario where I'm going to be going for Pukki or any Norwich players. But yeah, I mean, they have the fixtures now, don't they? Up until game week 14. But yeah, I just don't see it, to be honest. I wouldn't be going for them, if I'm being completely honest with you. Unrelated, but just packed Messi. Happy Friday. Damn, yeah, I packed Messi in FIFA 19. Best pack I ever got, obviously. So fair play. Yeah, that's a really good pack. Hit to Kovacic, Jota, Mount, or -4 for Christensen to Rudiger, Chilwell, Aspilicueta. Or -4, one of the keepers. No, definitely not one of the keepers. Never. I would go for... Kovacic to Mount, because Kovacic is out. So yeah, I'd probably do that. And Mount has some good fixtures coming up. Is Rafinha still on the chopping block? Yep, he is still on the chopping block. Obviously, a hat-trick is very, very impressive. And I don't think a lot of people would actually pull the trigger if he does so. Also, if people transfer him in after that, is that considered knee-jerk? Potentially, I think it still is. But of course, he does have the fixtures. We know what Rafinha is capable of. But he's not going to score hat-tricks too often. So it's still reactionary and knee-jerk to a certain extent. Which is the most likely route for you to get Livramento off your bench, do you think, if at all? Probably Chilwell. Chilwell or one of my City players. But of course, Rafinha could be another one. But I think Rafinha will either start or come off the bench. So I'm looking at Cancelo, Diaz or Chilwell. Most likely Cancelo or Chilwell. So that's how Livramento could come off my bench again and save my week. Evening Dylan is the big question everyone wants to know. Chilwell or James? Chilwell for me, Hassan, and thank you very much for tuning in. Just the thing that settles it for me is that James can come on more often from the bench for a one-pointer, whereas Chilwell is either going to start or he's not going to play at all, and that gives you the room for someone like Livramento to come off your bench. So I would rather go for Chilwell. Should I bench Hwang this week? If not, then for who? Rafinha, Mbumo or Livramento? Maybe Livramento bench for Hwang, but yeah, I think that's fine, to be honest. Yeah, I think that's not too bad. Do you think Mahrez to Foden is a good move? I think so, Judith. I think it is. Foden is probably a bit more nailed this year, and he's just shown much more, especially in terms of consistency. Hey, should I take a hit to bring in Foden for Havertz? Also have Gallagher and Gray. No, because I think Havertz could do well this week. Obviously, I prefer Foden, but not for a hit this week. Unpopular take, I'm starting Livramento every week until the returns disappear, says John. Wow. I mean, that's one way of playing it, and I think my luck is going to run out. Just constantly having him come off my bench and saving me. I think there's going to be a case where he's not going to come off my bench and he's going to get some good scores. Thoughts on City, Chelsea, Liverpool getting a clean sheet for Game Week 10? I think City will keep a clean sheet, but of course Palace have been impressive this season. I think Liverpool will too. Brighton haven't been too impressive in terms of their XG. I think in the last 4 games they've got an XG of around 4. And Liverpool have some good defensive stats. Oddly enough, I think Newcastle could actually sneak a goal against Chelsea. But yeah, I think all 3 teams are the most likely to get a clean sheet this week. So good question you raised there, Nigel. Hugo says CR7 plus Benrahma to Vardy and Foden for a -4. I think Ronaldo and Benrahma could do well this week, but the hit is worth it. Just bear in mind that if you do make that move, it could block you potentially from getting Son in a few game weeks' time. Then again, though, in just 2 game weeks, you can just save the transfers and then get rid of Vardy. If Watford, Southampton's a 0-0, then Foster owners could be like, yeah. And also Livramento owners, the ones that actually have him in the starting lineup, that is, or coming on. Who would you go for as a crazy captaincy choice in Foden, Vardy, Mount? Probably Foden, but I'm just going for Salah. I think the way I look at it is, if you go for a differential and it turns out right and, Salah blanks or doesn't do too well, then you make up a lot of ground. But then look at it the other way. The more times you don't captain Salah and he does really well and, your captain is kind of average, the bigger the gap is going to be with your competitors. Rock and Roll says, okay, I need some advice. I'm thinking of doing this week a -8, but I can wait to do a -4 for next week. Switching Allen to Mount, Scarlett to Davis, Sanchez to Rudiger. Yeah, definitely stretch it out to -4. That Scarlett to Davis move is obviously kind of sideways. Davis is, I think, a bit cheaper, but definitely stretch it over to a -4. Ronaldo to Tony, Shaw to Arnold, Gray to Mount. Should I go for it -8? Says Robin. I would probably, just like I said to Rock and Roll, try stretch it to a -4. So make 1 or 2 moves this week and then 1 move next week. Is Smith Rowe worth considering? Yes, especially around his price, but don't be fooled by these double-digit returns. They're going to come, but sporadically, I'd say. He's going to occasionally get an assist or a goal, but it's not going to happen every week. Obviously, it's the same goes for any play, even Salah. But what I mean by that is there's a lot of blanks along the way to those big returns from Smith Rowe. Rafinha to Mount for a -4. I wouldn't do it this week. Rafinha could do really well. Who should I start, James or Livramento? I'd still start James. Rafinha to Mount for a -4. Yeah, nope. I just read that, my bad. Jimenez to Tony and Benrahma to Mount -4. Yeah, I probably would, to be fair. But Jimenez and Benrahma could do well. What would you do with this team? 0.6 million in the bank and 2 free transfers, says Tafil. Alonso, Rudiger, Cancelo, Marcel, Grealish, Rafinha, Salah, Jota, Antonio, and CR7. I would move... it's a tough one. I would move Alonso to either Chilwell. Actually, no, you don't have Trent. So I would do Ronaldo to Vardy, potentially, or to Tony, and I'd move Alonso to Trent. That's what I'd do. Tafel, hopefully you got that. Saka to Mount -4. Could be worth it, to be fair, but you don't have to make that move. Raya won't be making a lot of saves because the defence is good. I reckon the same for Alvaro. Fixtures are good for Brentford and would be a differential pick. Yeah. Then again, though, Ramsdale's not too bad. Sanchez and Foster could cover for the week. But yeah, I think Fernandes could be decent. Love the content as well. Love from Norway. Thank you very much, Tafel. Much appreciated, mate. And yeah, quite a lot of people from Norway, actually. Fantastic. Hi, Dylan. Keep up the good work. Best Kovacic replacement. Budget 6.4. Thank you, Rodrev. I think Tielemans could be a decent option. Let me check. I think he might have gone up in price, so he's no longer 6.4. But he's someone to consider, actually. He's not someone I've mentioned too much in this stream, but I did mention him in previous videos. I've been very impressed by him. Yeah, 6.5, just a little bit over. Thick. But yeah, that's not too bad. I still think the same names. One of the Everton midfielders, Townsend or Gray, Smith Rowe. I'd be looking at them, and Mbumo still, despite the injury doubts. Chelsea always concede in Newcastle Stadium. Yeah, I think there's a stat where Chelsea haven't won 3 games in a row against the Toons, so that's a really good point, actually. And yeah, I'm not too confident in a clean sheet. Start Hwang, is it okay? Yeah, I think it's not too bad, to be honest. Thank you, Yuda. Will Rafinha start, though? I think he will. But there's a chance he doesn't. Aspie to Chilwell or roll? You could just roll, but you know, it's not the worst transfer in the world. I've done it myself. When are you ending? Not too sure, to be honest. Yeah, maybe in half an hour's time or in an hour. These streams tend to be 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Hello, Dylan. Same question as last week. Who would you place first on the bench, Smith Rowe or Livramento? And in addition to that, who would you consider playing one instead of James or Mbeumo? I'd start James, and I would put Livramento first on my bench. Should I be saving money to get Son next week? Have it in the back of your mind. I think, yeah, maybe. It's something I'm thinking about as well, but you don't have to, you know, kind of limit yourself just to think about Son, but it might be a good thing in the long term. I guess nobody knows apart from Tuchel, maybe not even him, but do we even have any idea why we think certain people, James may make many sub-appearances, but others, Chilwell, don't? That's a good point. I think the reason why is because at left wing-back you have Chilwell and you have Alonso, 2 natural left wing-backs. When you look at Reece James, he's the only natural right wing-back at the club. So I think they need James a little bit more, whether it's, you know, coming on for a little cameo, because otherwise, you know, it could be Azpilicueta right wing-back. That's not really too bad. But there's also Hudson-Odoi who could play right wing-back. So I think it's because of that, you know, having 2 natural left wing-backs as opposed to only 1 natural right wing-back. What is the best formation? Once again, it's about the players you have, not the formation, but I think 3-4-3, 4-4-2 or 4-3-3 are the best. 3-5-2 isn't bad either. Those are the best formations, I think, but it's not really too big of a deal. What do you think about removing Christensen for Matip? No, not for me. Matip doesn't even start every game, and I'd rather have Christensen, honestly. Jimenez to Tony and Benrahma to Mount -4. Yeah, I think that's good, William. Just bear in mind, Jimenez and Benrahma could do well this week. Foden for Rafinha -4. Hit, worth it. I would not be getting rid of either of them this week, especially for a hit. Can I start Hwang this week? Yes, you can. Hey, what do you think about taking a hit for Alonso to Chilwell? It's worth it, I think, long term, but if Alonso starts this week, then yeah, obviously you're going to be kicking yourself. But I'd probably hold, especially if you have other players to cover like Livramento. Hey, what do you think? Oh yeah, I just read that. Grealish out for Foden, sideways move? I don't think so. I think Foden, in terms of points per start, is far superior to Grealish, so I think it's worth it. How would you order my bench? I have Raya, Rudiger, Livramento, Gallagher. I would not be benching Rudiger this week, but yeah, I think that's fair. I'd do it exactly the same. The goalkeeper doesn't matter, of course. Henry or Janssen? I still think Janssen, but Henry is tempting, and I'm keeping my eye on him as well. I'm thinking of taking Dyer off for either Matip, Konate, Christensen. I'd rather have Christensen of the 3, but at the same time, from Chelsea, Azpilicueta, Rudiger and Chilwell are my favourites, even Reece James potentially. Then I look at Liverpool, of course, Trent is the one I'd want to go for, and then, yeah, I think from City, of course, Cancelo and Diaz. Sorry, just during the stream, what are the latest news on Rafinha? Well, it looks like he should be available, but that doesn't mean he's going to start. Sarr or Gray for this game week? I'd go for Sarr, actually. What do you think about this? Ramsdale, Trent, Chilwell, Cancelo, Rafinha, Mbeumo, Foden, Salah, Vardy, Jimenez, Antonio. Plus, I use my free transfer, James to Chilwell. I can tell, yeah, you put Chilwell in caps. I think that's a good team. Yeah, wouldn't really change too much. Maybe Jimenez could become Tony, for example, or Hwang in the coming weeks. Yeah, I think that's one change you can make. But you do have Mbeumo already, to be fair. Yeah, that's a good team. Rafinha's another one you could maybe get rid of. You could maybe find ways to get Son in. So Hassan, in the weeks to come, maybe Vardy gets downgraded to one of those strikers I discussed, and then you can upgrade Rafinha to Son in a similar position. Thinking of going for a defender change in Game Week 10, Tony for Ronaldo in Game Week 11, and use the wildcard in Game Week 13. Triple up on Wolves. I would not be tripling up on Wolves, to be honest, because I'm guessing you have triple up on Wolves, but yeah, triple up on Wolves is something I'd want to get off rather than on. But yeah, I agree with those changes, to be fair. Yeah, I think that could be worth it. I was checking my previous history in FPL, and I've had 4 finishes in the top 250k, but some won 2 million, and now I'm at 4 million. Yeah, well, obviously we all live and learn, and ranks aren't everything, but of course, you know, if we put a lot of time and effort into this, you want to get something out of it. But yeah, you can still get a good rank, to be honest. What's your say on Duffy? I think he's going to play this weekend because Dan Burn is out with an injury, according to Graham Potter, and he even said himself that Duffy could actually play. Do you play FIFA? Yes, I do, Yorang. Not too often. This year I've not really played too much. I haven't been playing PS5 too much, but yes, I do. Saka plus Jimenez out for Foden plus Tony, -4 this week. Yeah, I probably would go ahead with that. Insanely Football. Do you think Mbeumo will be fit? I think he will be fit to be in the squad. Will he start? That's a different question. I'm not too sure, but my gut feeling says yes. Which of these players do you think will start? Armstrong, Rafinha, or Mbeumo? I think all of them will, but I'm the least sure about Mbeumo out of the three. Armstrong, I'm a bit more sure about because Broja is out, but then again, it could be Che Adams starting instead. So, yeah, it's a bit of a difficult one. Thank you, Rodrev. You Never Walk Alone says, hiya, thank you very much. I'm thinking St. Maximan to Rodrigo. What say you? Not for me. I'd rather just have Rafinha, if anything, from Leeds. And Leeds are really poor at the moment. So if you're looking to get rid of St. Maximan, I would be looking for Tony or Hwang or Broja when he's fit. I wouldn't be looking for him personally. But of course, if you have a good feeling, go for it. Start Allen or Livramento. Definitely Livramento, mate. Let's see. What else have I missed on? Play Traore, Sarr, Livramento. Oh, that's tough. Sarr, but if not Livramento. Imagine if Mbeumo blanks in the next three, but the goalpost is like, he's good, keep him. Yeah, I mean, pretty much, yeah, that's pretty much the story of his season. Keep up the good work. I told you last week to great. You can cope with all the questions here. Greetings from Croatia. Thank you very much. I mean, yeah, it's a bit, I'd say, more manageable this week. But yes, when there's like hundreds of people, it is very difficult. I haven't seen how many people we have at the moment, but I'm assuming it's 100 or 200. Yeah, 161. Thank you very much to everyone. Oh, no, whoa, no. I don't fancy something delish, mate. Jesus Christ. It's like a jump scare for Halloween. Okay, so, Raya replacement, Sanchez or Ramsdale for me. Rafinha for Foden. No, not this week, but next week, yeah. St. Maximan or Tony for sure. Imagine Tuchel and Pep watching FPL YouTubers debate who's going to start. If they did, they're very sadistic, but I don't think they do. They've got more important things to do, I think. I just tuned in. I have little faith in Mount. What about you? I would not be getting rid of him, but I don't have too much faith in Mount, if that's what you're saying. I don't think he's going to get double-digit returns every week, but he's got the fixtures to do well in the next two. Any changes you would make to this team? Ramsdale, Cancelo, Trent, Chilwell, Livramento, Salah, Rafinha, Mbeumo, Foden, Kane, Tony, 2.3 million in the bank. Maybe Kane, I mean, it sounds a bit weird, but maybe Kane down. Of course, he's your differential, but I'd rather have Son, so he could be moved down to, let's say, for example, a tough one, really tough one, Vardy, or maybe Hwang, or Broja when he's fit, and then get Son in the midfield. But you don't have to make any changes this week. I think it's fine, and it's a good team. Rafinha or Mbeumo to start. Rafinha to start. Should I go for Chilwell or James for Aspie? I'd go for Chilwell. What kind of a double up with Salah and Jota? Yeah, it's on the cards. I'd rather have Mount, Foden, Havertz than Jota, but Jota's a good option nonetheless. And if you think about it, with Salah and Trent, you're not really kind of straying or making a difference from the rest of the pack. Most people will have both of them, especially Salah captain, so Jota's your kind of differential from the Liverpool ranks. But yeah, you don't have to have him, but it could be a good differential, a good double up. Is putting Jimenez on the bench risky? Slightly risky, but especially after seeing Everton last week. But if you have good players in your starting lineup, you can't start everyone. Play all three Chelsea defenders or drop Rudiger for Elyounoussi. I'd start all three Chelsea defenders, but it is very risky, to bank most of your defence on, one team. -4 to get Foden in for Sarr. Yeah, I probably would. I'm top 25 in the world. Is it risky not having Foden? Really good rank, mate. You don't have to have Foden, but of course, you probably would want to get him or Son in the coming weeks. So if you can get, him with a one move, especially, Saka to Foden, then I'd go for it. Hi, is this a good move? -4, I did Foden and Vardy in for Ronaldo and Gray. I think so. Obviously, both of those players could do well too, the ones you got rid of, but I think that's worth it. Who should I transfer out for Mbeumo or someone else? Traore, Saka, Rafinha? Priority-wise, I think Traore out first, and then Saka, and then Rafinha. But all of them, of course, could make way. Best Marçal replacements? Well, it looks like Marçal could be fit, actually, for this week, but I probably would be looking at a Brentford defender, Janssen, Pinnock, or Henry. Would you start Jota or Mbeumo? I'd start Jota out of the two, but the problem there is if he comes off the bench. But then again, the same could be said for Mbeumo. What's your take on Mbeumo, Tony double up? It's a good double up. You don't have to go for them though. Of course, they've got some good attacking stats, considering the fact they've played some of the best teams in the league. Now they've got some easier fixtures, but I think one's enough. And I'd rather have Tony out of the two if I had to pick. But then again, you know, neither of them have shown too much yet, but I think they could start showing a bit of form now. Perma Captain Salah, for the time being, yes, but I am open to maybe changing it if he starts showing a regression in terms of eyesight. Well, yeah, definitely with me, but you know, in terms of eye test or the stats, then yeah, I'd consider maybe going away from him. But for now, definitely not going to be changing my mind. Just sticking it with him. How long is Marcel probably injured for? Or should I keep him? Okay, let me check this actually, because when I checked, I saw people saying that he could be back. So maybe I've got the wrong information there. Let me double check this. So bear with me with a second. Wolverhampton Wanderers. Yeah, so ruled out. Yeah, Marcel remains on the sidelines. Yeah, okay, so fair enough. Yeah, I got that wrong. Yeah, he's out for the Everton game as well, I think. So I probably misinterpreted something, or I just saw the wrong information. I'm not sure about how long he's out for, but I wouldn't be going from him to 8 Nuri. I'd just make a move to a Brentford defender, the ones I discussed before. Guardiola playing FPL wouldn't be fair. Yeah, I mean, he should win it, to be honest, and if he doesn't, he's a fraud. But yeah. Hey, Dylan just came. What's your plans this week and potential future plans? I've already made my 2 transfers for a hit. Foden and Chilwell in for Saka and Azpilicueta. I had to make that Azpilicueta move to fund Saka to Foden. Future moves is to get Son into the midfield, and in order to do that, it could be a downgrade from either Antonio or Jamie Vardy. So I am thinking of, you know, something like that. So Juan could come in for Antonio, but if I do that, it also require Diaz down to Janssen or another Brentford defender, and I'd have Antonio in there. Or should I say Vardy in there potentially. You know, a team with Vardy and Son does really tempt me, but yeah, that's something I'm thinking about. But Son is the next target, and I'm thinking about how to get him in. So that's my plans. Livramento or Janssen? This week, that's a tough one, really tough. I'd probably prefer Livramento, but not too sure about that. Thoughts on my teammate? Ramsdale, Cancelo, Trent, Rudiger, Aspie, Cornet, Salah, Rafinha, Antonio, Kane, Hwang, Raya, Livramento, and Mbeumo, Gallagher. It's a good team. Mbeumo could be a bit risky on the bench, but then again, you know, who are you going to bench him for? I like that team. Cornet could be a really good differential, to be honest. I haven't seen him in any team, so good luck with that one. And I like the defence. It's a good team overall. Once again, I prefer Son over Kane, but Kane could finally start coming good. But if he doesn't really show the signs, just maybe make those 2 moves and get Son in the midfield and downgrade Kane to a Vardy or someone else, one of those other strikers I keep discussing. Please laugh at me when I'm bringing Chilwell since game week 1, but yeah, I remember that. And actually, Chilwell was one of the players I considered on my game week 1 team, but then, you know, just wasn't really getting the impression he was going to start, so I got rid of him. And yeah, you know, right decision up until game week 7 or game week 6. I think it's game week 7. Dylan, I'm out. Thanks for answering some questions. Great video as usual. Thank you very much, and you know, good thing that you appreciate it, or good thing they enjoyed it. And yeah, good luck with the week. Aspie or Chilwell long term? I still say Aspie, but yeah, Chilwell at the moment is looking really good. Oh, a little water break. Jesus, my voice is gone. All right, so let's get these questions up. Is it worth playing Kane and Son together? Yes, but taking Foden out for Son, I'd rather keep Foden and have Son and downgrade Kane, honestly. That's what I do. Is it scary Vardy worth it to get... Wait, what? Oh, sacrificing Vardy worth it to get Foden and Alexander Cancelo? Yeah, I think it could be worth it, to be honest. And any cheap forwards to replace Vardy? Tony or Hwang and Broca when he's fit, definitely. Thanks for the info, Dylan. I just seen your live. You're amazing. Thanks for answering. Last question. Ollie out if Spurs win or not. Thank you very much, Ibrahim, for tuning in. Very much appreciated, and your kind words. I think, yeah, any loss from now on, especially within the next 2 or 3, you know, and they have City next after. Yeah, I think it's Ollie out. If he loses this, he should have been out anyway. Why is your bench order Livramento before Townsend? I'm not too confident in Townsend, to be honest. But yeah, maybe it's the wrong call, to be honest. I'm not too confident in my bench, but I like my starting 11 a lot. Whom should I bench? Rafinha, Hwang, Antonio? I would bench Hwang, but yeah, he could do well too. Jimenez or Tony? Tony for me. Looking at the fixtures, Lamptey looked great against City when he came off at the weekend. Got my eye on him. Yeah, the problem with him is he's always, an injury doubt, and that just puts me off greatly. And, we have cheaper defenders from Brighton who can just offer great value, or just Sanchez in goal. So not for me, but of course, let's keep an eye on him. He's a very impressive player. Just as an FPL asset, he just tends to disappoint. Risk on Brentford differential without Raya? Yeah, potentially. I mean, I still think they're good assets, and they're going to be affected a little bit by Raya not being there, but I still think they're decent. Hi, should I get Chilwell for Alonso for a 4-point hit? If you can, help it, and you can play Livramento or someone, then just do that and save the hit. But if not, just take the hit. I think it's worth it long term, at least for the time being. Azpilicueta looks to drop in price today, so I don't know whether to roll or bring Chilwell in. Could you offer some help? If it's for a free transfer, you could just make the transfer. So that's what I'd probably do. To be fair though, you have already missed a few price rises with Chilwell. I got him in when he was like 5.7 or something. He's now 5.9. He basically did a double price rise. Same with Foden. But yeah, I probably would just make the transfer. Having said that, long term, I still think Azpilicueta is the better choice. Foster over Sanchez, I think this week, yeah. Manda. Diaz to Chilwell. This week, I'm not too sure. I think Diaz has a higher chance of a clean sheet than Chilwell. Lamptey's on my watch list, yeah. A lot of people actually have him there. Lukaku and Armstrong to Tony and Vardy -4. Yeah, I'd go for that. Just bear in mind that you probably want to have Son in a few weeks. Why Diaz? He is overpriced for his potential returns because he just plays every week in the best defence in the league, and he can get some bonus points. Of course, I might get rid of him at some point, maybe for a Brentford defender. How are you doing outside of FPL? Well, in UCL Fantasy, I'm doing really well. I'm in the top 800, 900 in the world. And as for in general, pretty decent. Thank you for asking, Adil. Hopefully you are too. Let me know if you are. Is Laporte a good buy to replace Marçal? Yeah, he's a decent one. But honestly, I'd rather have Diaz or Cancelo, especially Cancelo at this moment in time. And you can always go for a Brentford defender. And, assuming you already have Chelsea coverage and City and Trent, then yeah, I'd probably say a Brentford defender. I have Grealish and money. Do I hold or bring in Foden? For a free transfer, I'd get Foden in, to be honest. Goldhead says Tsimikas, Cancelo, Aspie, Laporte, Duffy, Rafinha, Brownhill, Salah, Greenwood, Sarr, Antonio, Josh King, Vardy. Got so many options to get out. I don't know who to do. Yeah. Obviously, King was someone you were nearly so close to getting rid of, and then he got a hat-trick for you, so fair play. It's a tough one. Really tough one. I would probably keep from those lot Cancelo and Aspie. I'd be, if you can, Livramento in for Tsimikas. For Laporte, I would rather have Chilwell, if you could afford it. Rafinha, someone on the chopping block potentially, but keep him for this week. Greenwood, you could get rid of for Foden or Mason Mount. Sarr, you can get rid of for, let's say, for example, Smith Rowe or Mbumo. And then looking at the rest of your strikers, I still think Josh King to Tony or Hwang is the right way to go. Aspie, Christensen, Trent, Cancelo, Rafinha, Salah, Gray, Jesus, Foster, Antonio, Tony. What do you think? It's a good lineup. Not too sure about Gray this week, but the rest looks really good. Marcus, is Kane good long term? If he can get his form back, yes, but I would argue Son is better long term and even short term. Why is everyone jumping on Tony hype? Fair enough. I've already got him from pretty much the beginning of the season. I actually mentioned this in my last video. I thought, I was mentioning the hype surrounding him because he was the championship all-time record goal scorer last season in a single season. Yeah, I can understand why you're a bit skeptical, but I think he's now got the fixtures to get those goals in. Over the last few weeks, he's been having some tough fixtures and he's still putting in some good creative stats. I think in terms of expected assists amongst forwards, he's second. So he's showing some good potential there. In terms of his price, there's him, Hwang and Broca. Not too much else. Of course, Malpai was looking good and Saint-Maximin, but I still think Tony's better. Brentford actually one of the best attacking teams in terms of the underlying stats. Expected goals, shots in the box. Over the last 4 games, I think they're 4th for most of those stats. So I think Tony's a good option, but I agree with you. There's a bit too much hype. Thanks, man. Subscribe. Thank you very much. Vivan, very much appreciated. And hope to see you in future live streams too. Cheers, mate. Hwang or Jimenez? Probably Hwang, but what I would say is that Jimenez is probably a bit more sustainable in terms of the underlying stats. Kanate or Matip? Neither, mate. To be honest, I'd go for someone else. I just think that they're going to be rotating. I wouldn't be going for either of them. I think Trent is the one you want to go for from Liverpool defence. Is it worth doing Bamford to Toney and a -4 for Bamford, Benrahma to Foden? Yeah, I think it is worth it, FPL Geek. You don't have to do it, but I probably would. Why Foster over Ramsdale? Because I back Watford slightly more for the clean sheet of Arsenal. I think Arsenal more likely to concede 2 goals or more. Leicester are looking really good at the moment in the last week. Maybe not defensively, but from an attacking point of view, really impressive. And I don't see Arsenal keeping a clean sheet, but I might change my mind. Foster Ramsdale this week. At the moment I'm going for Foster, but there's no right or wrong there. I might be making the wrong decision either way. What do you think of Reece James? Really good option when he starts, but the problem with him is he comes on a lot for those 1-pointers. He actually comes on for those 1-pointers the most of any Chelsea defender, which puts me off greatly. I'd rather have someone who either starts or doesn't play at all, and that gives me the option for my 5th midfielder, or my 3rd striker, or my 5th defender to come off the bench and do the business for me. Let's see. Chilwell is currently 5.9 and his price rise is 42%. Do you think he'll rise to 6 million before the deadline? I don't think so, but don't completely trust these price rise sites. They could get some stuff wrong, and sometimes maybe FPL do it manually. There is this kind of theory about that. Hwang, Toney, or Broca for Armstrong. I'd still go for Toney. Maybe I'm being a bit bullish, overly bullish on him, but I'd go for him. Chilwell or Aspie? At this moment in time, Chilwell, but long term probably Aspie. Let's see. Is Keita fit, guys? I'm not too sure. That looked like he's out for quite a while. Let me check the latest news on Keita. That's a good question. I want to be considering him from an FPL perspective, but he is looking really impressive this season. Scored a really good goal against Atletico Madrid, and of course scored and opened the scoring against Manchester United. Let me get Liverpool. Clear of injury. I think Klopp cleared of an injury after that tackle by Paul Pogba. So yeah, he's fine. It looked a bit bad, obviously at the time, out on the stretcher, but all good. Start Diaz or Rudiger? I'd start Diaz, but I wouldn't want to bench either of them. Yeah, exactly. Keita's fit. Thank you very much. Liverpool fan, aka Basler. Is it worth holding on to Sarr? Maybe this week, yeah. He could do all right, but at the same time, not too sure. Long term, you probably wouldn't want to have him. But this week, could do all right. Toney looks great on a pitch. Looks great on a pitch. Aspie to Chilwell for free. I think it's worth it, potentially with the attacking upside. Just bear in mind the risk with, Chilwell might not start. He might not start. Foden or Havertz? Foden definitely, but Havertz is still good. Don't get rid of him. Who's to pick? Our Benrahma, Livermore, or Townsend? I'd probably go for Benrahma. I think he could do decent, but that's a tough one. So is Rafinha all right for game week this week? Well, yeah, I think he's going to start. That's what I personally think. Bielsa said he should be all right to play, but he could just come off the bench, so you never know. Will Christensen start? I think so, Eric. Hwang or Townsend? I would probably start Hwang based on what I've seen recently, but once again, the underlying stats not too impressive. Will James start this weekend? I'm not too sure. I think Aspie will start right wing back, and it'll be Thiago Silva, Rudiger, and Christensen, if not Chalobah comes in or someone else, but I could be wrong. I mean, Livramento and Mbeumo. Probably Mbeumo. Just for the attacking upside, but it's a bit risky. James to Chilwell, Jota to Foden -4, and if not Foden, who else? Foden for me. If not Son, that's the only one I'd consider. Looking long term, I'd take that -4. Eric, just bear in mind once again, it could be James starting and Chilwell being benched, and vice versa. You never know. Who should I bench out of Sarr, Mbeumo, James, and Rudiger? I would bench either Sarr or Mbeumo, and probably Sarr. Not too sure about that though. Toney or Hwang? Toney for me. Better underlying stats, better fixtures coming up, and Wolves have some pretty tough ones, but still Hwang's a good option. Is Rudiger guaranteed to start? Not absolutely, but I think he's one of the most likely to start most game weeks. Not necessarily sure about game week 10. Keita's available. Exactly, Alfie. I just checked now the list of all the press conferences, and that's what he said. Thank you very much for that. I think I've got to keep Greenwood just to have one United player. I'm going to go Tsimikas to Janssen and Sarr to Foden. I could triple up on Chelsea and get Rudiger Mount, which should be tasty. I think that's a good idea. I'm not really too keen on United players, but I can see why you're thinking about that. So fair play, mate. And obviously, once again to everyone, if you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new, and get your questions in and your comments. Dylan, are price rises based solely on ownership, or do form fixtures play a role in the algorithm? Maybe they do slightly, because sometimes it seems a bit manual. Because on price prediction sites, no one's really anywhere near 100%, and then they go up in price. But I think it's mainly to do with ownership, the amount of transfers in. That's the main thing, and yeah, the ownership. Foden and Diaz for Armstrong and Saka worth a hit? No, because yeah, you're pretty much getting a third striker and then downgrading to Davis. Then again, though, if you already have 4 or 5 midfielders and then 2 strikers, that's fair enough. Foden's a big upgrade, but I probably would say no. What are the chances of Mbuma and Rafinha starting? I'm a bit more confident in Rafinha, a bit less so with Mbuma, but I think both of them will start, personally. Iheanacho for Rondon, -4. Oh, that's a tough one. I probably would go for it, but not too confident in either of them. Will Salah leave for AFCON? Yeah, he will, pretty much. Unless he changes his mind, which would be very strange. Adol says, I have Reece James, although they did get more points than Chilwell last week. Do I do a sideways transfer? I mean, it's up to you ultimately. If you're happy with Reece James, keep him. Just bear in mind, he's more likely to come off for those 1-pointers. That's the problem I have with him. Elyounoussi will bang soon, potentially. People have been banging on about him for time, and I can see why. Jesus or Tony? I still go for Tony, to be honest. It gives you more money to get Son in midfield and other transfers. Next week, double up Mbuma and Tony, potentially, but you don't have to, and I'd rather have Tony. Have you thought about someone from Burnley? Cornet, potentially, and maybe... Nah, just him, to be honest. The rest, not too much. Brownhill as a 4.4 million. So that's what I'd look at. Aspi to Chilwell, -4, worth it. I did the same move, but only to fund Foden, or Saka to Foden. I think it could be worth it. It's not really a sideways move. Just bear in mind, Aspilicueta could start and Chilwell's benched, but I think at the moment he's just looking in such great form. What about Hwang? Really good option. I'd rather have Tony, but yeah. I'd rather have Tony, but Hwang is a good option, yeah, no doubt about it. Should I keep Havertz or go for Foden? I'd keep Havertz. I show a bit of faith, but I'd rather have Foden, of course. Should I get Chilwell in for Alonso? I probably would, Pratchett. Just bear in mind, it can always go either way with these wing-backs. Who's a replacement for Kovacic? Either Smith Rowe or Mbeumo. No problem, Mandar. Welcome, Finn. How are you planning on getting Son in Game Week 12? Either downgrading Vardy or Antonio to another striker like Hwang or Broca. What do you think of Gundogan? Could do alright this week, but I'm not really thinking about him. I think Foden's the best one to go for from City. Bro, you look like Mason Mount with glasses. Thank you very much. A few people have said that in the stream already. And then obviously most people say I look like Werner. Southampton or West Ham to keep a clean sheet? I think Southampton... Nah, I'm not sure actually. I'm not confident in either of them, to be honest. The hell was that? Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe West Ham, but Villa do have some good attacking players, and they might change formation and find a little bit of a reaction. Jota or Rafinha? This week Rafinha, but maybe long-term Jota's the better one. Should I buy Tony instead of Saint-Maximin or Foden instead of Greenwood? Oh, that's tough. Probably Foden instead of Greenwood, but this week I just don't see Saint-Maximin scoring. Thanks for your help, Dylan. Really appreciate it. Good luck for Game Week 10. I've got to go now. Come on, guys, hit the like button. Thank you very much to Dindra. And we have hit 103 likes, so thank you very much to everyone. Benrahma or Gray? This week, Benrahma, actually. How are you doing? Very well, Finn. Hopefully you are too. Whom to bench? Tony, Saka, Townsend. Saka for me. Who should I replace Rondon with? I have, for a -4, I have 4 million in the bank. Either Vardy, Antonio maybe, if you don't have him already, or Gabriel Jesus is a decent one. Not too bad. Aubameyang's not a bad shout, but I probably wouldn't go for him. Yeah, Vardy, Antonio, Jimenez is decent. Hwang, you can always go for Hwang, and of course Tony. You know, Tony's probably the most cost-effective and best value for money there. Will James play this week, considering play the entire cup match? I don't think so, Crypto Maniac, but I could be wrong. So personally, I think not. I think it'll be Aspilicueta right wing back, but I could be absolutely, off the cuff there. What do you think of Bernardo Silva? I think he's a decent option, but once again, Foden for me. If you can get that extra money, go for him. What about Gundogan? I think he could do really well this week, but long-term Foden is the best City option right now. Who to start, Sarr or Elyounoussi? I'd start Sarr, Mr. Ali. Gray, Iheanacho, Rafinha, Jimenez. I need 2 to bench this week. Incredibly confusing. I would bench, that's tough, probably Iheanacho, but he could do well against Arsenal, and maybe Gray. James to Chilwell, given Aspie is fit. Yep, but bear in mind that Chilwell could be benched for Alonso. You never know, but I probably would go ahead with that. Is Salah triple captain an option this week? It is Jack Knows Ball, or Knows Football, but I would just go for a double game week, or whenever he plays Norwich, for example. Let's see. So, do I get Chilwell for Semedo and Dennis for Hwang from -4, or Chilwell to Semedo? I would not get Dennis for Hwang, to be honest. And Dennis is suspended anyway. I'm guessing you're saying Hwang is coming in for Dennis, but just get Chilwell in and cover with your bench. Should I keep Havertz? Yeah, keep him, I'd say. I prefer Foden, but I'd do it. Adol says Tony or Broca for Armstrong, and I do already have Mbeumo, just so you know. Well, Broca's out for this week. He's confirmed out by Ralph Hasenhüttl, so I'd say Hwang, but Tony. But the other two are good, and I've got my eye on Broca when he comes back. Do you have any ideas about how bad the Broca injury is yet? No, but I don't think it's too bad. I think he could be back by game weeks 11 or 12, but he is out for game week 10. Janssen or Ings, who should I bench? Probably I'd bench Ings, but you never know. He could do all right. Play Aspie against Newcastle or Sarr? Aspie for me. Play Ramsdale or Foster? I'm going with Foster, but I might change my mind, Finn. Hey Dylan, great to catch you here from Australia. Wow, says Mira. Play Mbeumo or Smith Rowe based on fitness and fixtures? Great question. I would risk it and go for Mbeumo, but the safer pick would be Smith Rowe. But having said that, Mbeumo I think has the highest ceiling this week. I just don't see Smith Rowe getting a big haul against Leicester. I could be completely wrong though. Leicester are pretty vulnerable defensively, but Mbeumo, if he does start, he's playing Burnley, one of the worst teams this season, especially defensively. Should James to Chilwell be a priority transfer? Not necessarily, but I probably would go ahead with that, Adil. Start Gray or Livramento? I would start Livramento maybe, actually. Not too sure about that though. I'd have to think about that. I mean, at the moment I've got Livramento over Townsend on my team. I could easily, swap that around, so I'm not too sure, to be honest. It's a 50-50. Montesir says Foster, Sarr, Cancelo, Chilwell, Rudiger, Livramento, Trent, Salah, Allen, Rafinha, Benrahma, Mbeumo, Vardy, Jimenez, Antonio. Any moves for next week? I would be thinking about potentially downgrading Vardy or Jimenez. I think Jimenez you could turn into Tony or Hwang or Broca when he's fit, and then get Son or Foden in your midfield. That's what I'd probably be looking to do. But your defense is good. What I would say though is you don't have Trent. Oh no, you do. My bad. No, ignore that, idiot. But yeah, your midfield's fine. But yeah, Foden and Son would definitely improve your midfield, and you can downgrade Vardy and or Jimenez to achieve that. Reguilon for Spurs or Chilwell from West Ham for the next week. I'd play Chilwell or any Chelsea defender for the matter over Reguilon, so I'd go for Chilwell. So Adam Armstrong will start. Not completely sure about that because it could be Che Adams if Southampton decide to play one up front. So let me actually check this predicted lineup I see on Fantasy Football Hub by Ben Dinnery. Let me check this. So wait, which team are we looking at again? Jesus, what am I doing? Yeah, Southampton. All right, so Southampton. All right, let me get this up. All right, so yeah, I mean, it could be a two-striker formation with Redmond playing up front with Che Adams. That's what Ben Dinnery has predicted currently. He does update this document very often, and it could be actually, yeah, Armstrong on the bench. I'm not really too keen on Armstrong, to be honest, even with Broca out. Of course, I could be wrong. James to Chilwell for a -4. Not too sure about that. If you have enough cover on your bench, then just, avoid the hit. But if it's not for a hit, then go ahead for it, obviously. But you are taking the hit, so yeah, if you have to, go for it. I think Chilwell is the better option long term, at least for the time being. Vardy cleared fully fit. He's been in training since Wednesday when Leicester played against Brighton in the Carabao Cup and won on penalties. So yeah, he should be fine. Apart from Salah, is there any attacking premium that you will consider in the future? Ronaldo when the fixtures turn for United from game weeks 15 onwards, and I'd say Heung-min Son if you count him as a premium. Harry Kane if he can get into some form. Other than that, not really. Should I get Foden for Havertz? The thing is, if you got Havertz, you want to give him a bit of a chance, but I do prefer Foden, to be fair. And I definitely wouldn't get rid of Havertz for a hit for Foden, but yeah, I'd rather have him. But maybe give Havertz this week. I think Jesus will be the surprise package this week. Yeah, I actually mentioned him in my Game Week 10 preview, I think. I put him in my best free hit team. I think Jesus could be really good this week. Do you think they should do the highest weekly score on aggregate after transfers to stop people taking a weekly -4 to enter the best team? I thought it was already like that, where if you took a hit or something, you can't actually, feature as the best team. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I think with the hits, or not the hits, the chips, if you play a chip, you can't feature as the best or the highest rated team, but I might be wrong about that. Start Livramento or Sarr? I would probably start Sarr just for the ceiling, but not too sure about that. Did Armstrong play in the Cup? I think Che Adams played in the Cup and he scored and assisted, if I'm not mistaken. Let me actually double check this. Apologies. I was actually out on that day, so I didn't check that Southampton game. So let me actually double check that. But yeah, Southampton have been doing decent. Scored against Chelsea. Let me check the lineups right here quickly. Armstrong played alongside Che Adams. So yeah, he did start and he wasn't substituted off. Yeah, I'm not really too confident in Armstrong, to be honest. What do you think of Creswell over the other similar range defenders? Obviously, man of the match against Spurs last week, but still, I'd rather have Chelsea, City, and obviously Trent. Defenders, obviously. And you could also maybe just get a Brentford defender for a bit cheaper. So obviously, still a good option, but not as good as last season. Who to start between Tony, Hwang, and Antonio? I have Smith Rowe on the bench too. I would start. Don't bench Antonio. Yeah, start Antonio. He's the first choice. Then Tony. Then Hwang. And I wouldn't bench Tony either. Should I bench Foden? Bench Foden. Should I bring Foden for Son -8? Do not get rid of Son, especially for a -8. Long term, Son is probably a better option than Phil Foden. Should I sell Jota for Son for a hit or make the same move next week? Yep, next week, mate. Son could do really well against United, but you never know what could happen in that game, so I would probably wait for next week. White will play, I think so as well. Thanks for your input tonight, Dylan. Thank you very much, Neil. Very much appreciated. Will you take out Kane or hold on to him? But yeah, with that money, like you say, John, you can get Foden, Son, and Chilwell. So I probably would just take him out. You don't have to do it this week. You don't have to be in a rush to do it, but over time, maybe get rid of him. So who to start, Armstrong or Livramento? I'd start Livramento, Sid. Vardy and Rafinha out for Hwang and Foden for free. Nah, I probably wouldn't. Vardy and Rafinha out when they could both easily do well against their respective opponents. I wouldn't do that this week. Dropped Antonio and Rafinha for Foden. Don't know if I'm happy with it, but we'll see tomorrow. I think they could do really well, especially if Rafinha starts, but obviously good luck with that. And Foden, if he starts, could be in for a big haul. What minimum price would you say is a premium player? It depends on the position. So with a defender, you'd be saying arguably 6 million over, or maybe 5.5 million or over. Midfielders, I'd say 10 million and over is, I'd say, premium. And then with strikers, I think 11 million or over, or maybe 10 million or over. So yeah, that's kind of my thresholds for each one of them. Jesus or Tony for long term? Tony for me. Yeah. Salah premium says, yeah. Trent also premium, so differs. Yeah, I agree. Hope someone will reply. Have Livramento, Armstrong, Gray, and Hwang. Who brought into the squad? Just Hwang. Oh yeah, so you can only start one. I would start either Livramento or Hwang, and if I had to pick one, probably Hwang. But obviously, back your gut on that one. Havertz for Rafinha from -4. I would not be taking any of them out from -4, so just avoid that, B-boy. Starting Mbeumo or Livramento. Mbeumo, just for the attacking potential. Last week was a -40 and triple captain, and they got the highest game week score. Are you serious? A -40? That's crazy, to be honest. Yeah, they should change that. 150 likes, says Laser. Wow, we are quite a while away, but thank you very much for encouraging people. We've now on 119, so very much appreciated. We're approaching 9:15. I'm going to be eating dinner soon. I haven't eaten yet, but thank you very much to everyone who has been tuning in. Good evening, Dylan. Thank you, The Flying Dutchman, for tuning in. You did say you were out this weekend, so obviously very much appreciate that you have tuned in. Sell Jimenez for Tony. Yeah, I'd say so. You don't have to do it this week, but I think ultimately it is the right thing to do. And just to kind of make it clear for anyone who is watching, so I made one change for my team selection. Foster in for Ramsdale. And as for my actual transfers, a -4 hit. Foden and Chilwell in for Saka and Azpilicueta. The reason why I did Azpilicueta Chilwell was to fund Saka to Foden. So yeah, let me know what you think about that. But yeah, that's pretty much my transfers. Salah captain, Foden vice. I think Rafinha will start. Vardy should be fit. I'm a bit concerned about Chilwell starting and Cancelo. Potentially, you never know. But yeah, otherwise should be a good week. Townsend and Livramento on my bench. Not sure about the bench order and about benching them per se. But that's what we have at the moment. Start 2 of James, Hwang, Livramento and Mbumo. I would start James, even though there is a rotation risk there this week. And Mbumo. Where are you streaming from, Dylan? I'm streaming from London, very close to the Emirates, actually. Welcome, Adam FPL. Long time no see, mate. Thank you very much for tuning in. Very much appreciated. Marcel, Rafinha, Mbumo. Start 2 out of 3. Yeah, Rafinha and Mbumo. It looks like Marcel's actually going to be out, unless I'm mistaken. And either way, I think they just have higher ceilings. Jesus or Foden? Jesus could do really well this week, but I'd rather have Foden. John Petter. James to Chilwell for free. I would probably do that Stephen Moore, but bear in mind it could backfire either way. Oh, thank you very much. I'll reward you. Thank you very much, mate, and good luck to you. God bless you and your family. Marcel, Rafinha, and Mbumo. Wait, I think, yeah, you already asked this question, and I went with Rafinha and Mbumo. Caviar says, appreciate the content, mate. One of the best FPL YouTubers out here. Good luck for Gameweek 10. Thank you very much. Very much appreciate. There's a lot of people who make great content, so it means a lot. And good to see you on here once again. Just tuning in for a short while. Fair enough. And to be fair, I am wrapping up very shortly, so you made it in here just in time. How much do you have in the bank? Great question. Great question. So I have... let me... what am I doing? Yeah. I have... 0.2 million in the bank, and my squad value is 102.8. So overall 103 million squad value, 0.2 million is in the bank currently. So yeah, what I'm thinking of is to get Son in long term. I would have got him in my wildcard. I keep banging on about it, I know, like a broken record, but I actually would have got him on my Game Week 8 wildcard if it wasn't for the false positive test. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm thinking of. I really think people are missing the bus on Brentford players if the next couple of weeks. Yeah, I'm looking at Canos. Yeah, and obviously he was really impressive in Game Week 1 against Arsenal. Mbumo, a Brentford defender like Janssen is definitely on the cards. But then again, you know, I think Son is my priority, but, you know, Janssen could be a means to an end to get that. Since I used my wildcard in Game Week 4, I dropped in rank, put trust in Lukaku and Ronaldo. But this is the thing, you know, you never know. And that's why it's a bit risky to wildcard early. And I said this back in, you know, that time as well when I was making those wildcard videos. We just don't have enough data to make concrete decisions. And to be fair, you had a bit of bad luck. You know, United went from, you know, a fairly decent attacking team to just complete shambles who are so inconsistent. You don't know what you're going to get. Lukaku got injured. I think he would have done really well against Norwich and, you know, Burnley and Newcastle, all these teams they're facing. Over 2 hours of streaming. Yeah, well, to be fair, we tend to do this as well. You know, yeah. Sometimes it's an hour and a half, but yeah, you know, a few people here, you know, why not? Start Tony or Livramento. Definitely Tony for me, but Livramento's decent. Appreciate the effort as always. Keep doing what you do. Have a great game week. Thank you, The Flying Dutchman. Very much appreciated. Always, you know, here, even when you are away. Good luck with this game week. Same with everyone else who's tuning in. And remember to smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. Not a robot, by the way, just a little cheeky plug. Since Foden missed the penalty versus West Ham, do you think Pep is keeping him on the pitch? I think he will still play. He's one of the most important players for City. But even with the penalty scored or not, City progressing or being eliminated, I just think Foden's always going to be a little bit of a rotation risk. The same goes for any City player. But I think he will start. Hopefully he does. Start Livramento, James or Saka. I start James, but it is risky. You having bangers and mash for tea? Nah, mate. I'm going to be having some Italian tonight. And as for tea earlier... just continental style. That's the kind of you know, food I have pretty much for tea. When you're going to live stream for Fantasy UCL? On the Tuesday, pretty much. So an hour before the deadline, and I'll be making some videos over the coming days. So don't you worry about that. Is okay. You got another wild card in a couple of months. Yeah, around December, January, we get another wild card. Second half of the season. It's half luck, half statistics. Yeah, I'd say also good decision making, which can be influenced by the eye test. Not necessarily all down to statistics, but yeah, luck is a big part of FPL, to be honest. Smith Rowe or Livramento? This week I'd start Livramento, but Smith Rowe, maybe I'm not giving him enough credit. I would have benched him last week, and look how he did. So, obviously up to you what you do, but I think Livramento could do really well. And also I picked captain like Ronaldo, Lukaku, and they blank when Salah does every game. Yeah, I think at this point, Salah's just the best captaincy option. Just go for him and don't overcomplicate it. But of course, it's easy to say that now. I never expected him to be so far better than the rest, especially Ronaldo and Lukaku. Bro, is it worth a hit for Rafinha to mount? No, mate, because Rafinha plays Norwich. If he starts, he could do really well and even outscore Mount. Obviously, Mount's not going to get 24 points with a retaken penalty and, facing 10 men Norwich every week. So just bear that in mind. Benrahma or Livramento bench? I would bench Livramento and I'd start Benrahma personally. Sanchez, Foster, Rudiger, Trent, Cancelo, Marçal, Livramento, Mbeumo, Havertz, Rafinha, Salah, Sissoko, Vardy, Antonio Jimenez, 0.7 million left in the bank. Any tips, plans to bring in Son and Foden? I think the easiest way to do that would be to downgrade Vardy to a Tony or a Hwang or a Broca when he's fit, and then doing Rafinha to Foden and Havertz to Son. I think that's the easiest way to go about it, mate. But don't get rid of Havertz now. Get rid of him maybe in a few game weeks' time. And same with Rafinha, don't get rid of him now. So maybe a -4 hit in a week or two's time. Sorry, I already asked this question but didn't hear your answer. Saka to Son or roll the transfer because my team doesn't really need a transfer, but I want to get Son in my team as soon as possible. I'd just do Saka to Son anyway. Saka could outperform him this week, but it's just worth the upgrade, to be honest. So yeah, I'd get Son in. If not, wait next week and, you have more flexibility anyway. Out of topic here, but Messi got subbed off at halftime against Lille. Never thought that would happen. He's probably injured or something, but that's a bit strange. He did miss training the other day. That's a shame. I actually thought he was going to score today. We're going to have to wait for him to score his first Ligue 1 goal. I mean, who would have thought that? The Farmers League. But still, at least he's doing well in the Champions League and should be winning the Copa America. No, well, he's already won that. He should be winning the Ballon d'Or. When do you think that Salah will blank? I'm not too sure about when he's going to blank, but it will happen eventually. Let's actually look at the fixtures. Maybe West Ham? Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Only a forward back against Salah at this point. But it could be, for example, let's look at all the fixtures this season. What was the one game Salah blanked in? Against Burnley at home when most people captained him. So it could be someone random. It could be Brighton next. It could be Arsenal at home. It could be Southampton at home. You never know. And it could just be a day where Mane's the main guy or Jota. So it could be any time. But I think over the next 5 game weeks, he'll blank once. We can't have players be superheroes. Start Christensen or Livramento? I'd start Christensen. Yeah. It's very strange about Messi, but it is what it is. Even the greatest struggle. That's the way I see it. Liga BBVA, the true Farmers League. I'd say now maybe. Then again, back in the day, La Liga dominated. When people said, it's not really that good, but, they won so many Champions Leagues and Europa Leagues. But right now, they're pretty poor. Now, his record versus West Ham is very good. Yeah, I agree. I'm just saying, based on how good West Ham have been, Johnson, 6 games, 6 clean sheets. But, I'm not too sure, to be honest. Thanks for your help, Dylan, all this game week. I'm just going to continuously change my bench. I hope I end up on the best combination. Hopefully, I'm happy at 230. Yeah, I'm probably going to be watching those games with the lads, hopefully. I'm not embarrassed to be an Arsenal fan. Got a -4 ready for Chilwell, Foden for Alonso, Rafinha as it wise for another -4 for Benrahma, Mount swap. It's not the worst idea in the world, but I probably wouldn't. I think Benrahma could do well this week. Arsenal could be one where he blanks and Mane steals a show. Yeah, exactly. Or even Jota, who did really well last season. Who to play from Livramento and Mbeumo, Henry, Gallagher, and what sub order? I'm not sure how many you're going to bench, to be honest, but I'd play Mbeumo and Livramento, and then Henry, and then Gallagher will be on my bench. So basically, the way I'd rank it is Mbeumo first, Livramento second, Henry third, and Gallagher fourth. To be fair, you could arguably put Henry over Livramento. Messi took a bad free kick, that's why he subbed off, and Di Maria also missing like anything. What, just for a bad free kick? That seems a bit excessive. James and Aspie to Trent and Chilwell for a -4. I probably would, to be honest. Long term, I think it's worth it. I'd do that. If not, wait 1 week and then do the move. Thoughts on Antonio for the next 5 weeks? Yeah, I mean, there's an argument to get rid of him. Really tough fixtures like Chelsea, City, Liverpool. So I can completely understand that. So yeah, maybe it's the right time to get rid of him and then get back on him in game week 16 or 18. So that's what I think. But you can actually just keep him and bench him if you have enough. Adam Armstrong or Townsend? Townsend for me. We have the same number of points too. Wow, that's pretty impressive to be honest. And yeah, that's the first time I've heard that. It's mad how Keita has made it fit into the full team training after going off on a stretcher versus United. Looks like he would be out for weeks, but wow. Yeah, and he's also very injury prone, so it is pretty surprising. Adam Armstrong says, me, as Ronaldo would say. Fair enough. Ronaldo and Shaw out. Arnold, Tony, -4. Do you think that's a good move? Yeah, I think so, to be honest. United could, turn a corner, but I think it's the right call. Rumour is Rodgers is United's board's favourite with Poch number 2. As a United fan, I still think Conte is the best option considering the situation. I think short term, Conte is the most likely to win United a league. Rodgers, I'm not too sure about, to be honest, and he has a long-term contract with Leicester as far as I'm concerned, so he would actually cost the most, if anything, out of those managers. And Poch, what I've seen with PSG, I'm not impressed. He's done a really good job with Southampton and Spurs. I'm just not so sure. He's a good builder of clubs, maybe, but I'm not too sure if he's the guy to take United to the next level. Maybe he'll make United more consistent and maybe have a little bit of a manager bounce. I'm not too sure, though, to be honest. Who can I bring in into my defence? Have Chalobah, Cancelo, Matip. I would honestly just be looking to get in Trent and Chilwell or Rudiger for Chalobah and Matip. That's what I personally say. Matip especially, I'd be getting rid of. Start Saint-Maximin or Gray? I'd start Gray. Best goalkeepers in FPL in the following game weeks. Ramsdale, Sanchez, and I would say maybe Fernandes as the backup Brentford keeper taking Raya's place. And also if you want someone more expensive, Martinez, Mendy. Yeah, that's what I'd probably look at. Those are the best ones, I think. Should I bench Townsend for Rafinha? Yeah, I would start Rafinha over him. Welcome, Ben Gregory. Interesting question. Do you think Creativity ICT rank number 1? Or who do you think? Good question. I actually haven't checked this. Don't tell me it's Salah. Wait, I'm actually going to check now. Is it actually Salah? That's actually crazy if he is. Oh no, look at him this second. Jesus Christ. Alright, so number 1. Is it Bruno Fernandes? It has to be Bruno Fernandes, surely. I'd be surprised if it isn't. Let me actually check this. You're probably going to say in the chat now. Yeah, it's Bruno Fernandes, yeah. Just because he's been creating so many chances in the Champions League. He's created the most chances in a single game against Atalanta with 8. And in the Premier League against Aston Villa, I think he created 10 chances despite missing the penalty at the end. So yeah, not too surprised to be honest, despite Bruno not really being as great of an FPL asset this season. Will Mbeumo start? I think so, Mukafor, but I'm not too sure. Exactly, short-term Conte is what I want and need because we need big trophies. Yeah, and not just big trophies, just trophies in general. United haven't won a trophy in 4 years, and it's not that much, not that long, but as time builds on, that's a lot of pressure to be put on a club. So yeah, I think Conte's the one. The pasta will be ready soon, don't worry, mate. Interesting you've gone for Foster starting. Yeah, because I think Leicester are going to do well against Arsenal. -4, take out Reguilon for Trent. Normally I'd say no, but to be honest, super duper FC, I would do that. Livramento, Arnold, Henry, who is better? Trent Alexander-Arnold, surely, yeah. And then it'd be Livramento. As for this week, maybe Henry over Livramento, but Arnold for sure, don't bench him. Maddison, someone to keep an eye on, but I'd rather have Vardy. And James Justin, I'm keeping an eye on him when he comes back. But yeah, Maddison, wait and see, if anything. Should I remove Gallagher and bring in Smith Rowe? I think that could actually be worth it. So yeah, maybe this is not the week to do it, but Gallagher does face City to be fair. But yeah. Will Reece James start? I'm not too sure, Ninja. I personally think he might not, but I'm not sure. Thinking of captaining Vardy. Fair enough. I'm just going to be captaining Salah, but Vardy could do well against Arsenal. Are you taking a hit this week? I've already taken one super duper. I've got Foden and Chilwell in for Azpilicueta and Saka. I needed to do that defender transfer to fund the midfielder move. Benrahma or Cornet? I'm very tempted by Cornet at the moment, but yeah, Benrahma is still decent. Scored the winning penalty, of course, against Manchester City, I think. But I'm actually tempted to say Cornet, but that's more just a gut feeling. Yeah, Mukafor, I said Mbeumo, I think will start. I'm not too sure. Ben Foster's YouTube channel, any thoughts? I haven't really seen the videos, but I know he does make some videos, and yeah, he does love his FPL, doesn't he? Vardy always bag against Arsenal. Well, not always. He didn't last season in the 3-1, didn't he? Wait, did he? Did he not? I'm trying to think who scored in that game. I think it was Tielemans, actually. But yeah, he's great record against Arsenal. 11 goals in 13 games. What seems to be the best move next week? Havertz and Hwang to Mbeumo and Tony. Havertz and Tony to Son and Tony. Havertz and Vardy to Mbeumo and Kane. number 2, Havertz and Antonio to Son and Tony, but Antonio out, but then again he does face Liverpool, City and Chelsea within the next 4 or 5 from that point on, so not too bad. Foden or Livramento, who to start? Foden, mate, definitely, don't bench Foden. Are you confirming your moves now or in the mooning? I already made my moves, mate. What you see on screen is my moves. Chilwell and Foden came in for Azpilicueta and Saka. So that's it. This is pretty much my lock team. In terms of my actual starting 11, I might put in Ramsdale for Foster. And yeah, I might confirm it later today or tomorrow. Rafinha or Sarr for Foden? Sarr. I'd rather keep Rafinha this week. I did Alonso for Reece James and Greenwood for Mount. Good transfers, what do you think? I'm not sure about Reece James. I'm not sure if he's going to start, to be honest. I would have rather have gone for Chilwell or Azpilicueta or Rudiger. But still, I think long-term they're good transfers. Bench Saka or Mbumo? Saka. He got a diving header. Yeah, he did in the 1-0. But I'm talking about the... or was it 2-0? But I'm talking about the 3-1. Arsenal won at... the King Power Stadium. So that's the last time Arsenal played them, and Vardy blanked. But yeah, at the King Power, or at least at the Emirates last season, he did come off the bench and score. Sell Rudiger and Son for Chilwell and Foden, or Marcel and Rafinha for Foden and a 4.2 million defender. Rudiger and... but don't get rid of Rudiger and Son. They're good. I know why you want to do it, but don't do that, Glyn, in my opinion. Maybe downgrade someone else like Vardy up front if you have him. Good luck this week, Dylan and Chatters. John out. Thank you, John. Much appreciated. Good to see you, mate. Thank you, Kai Havertz, for tuning in once again. Very much appreciated. And Yarang. Just read on Twitter, Rafinha close to a price drop. Woo. Sell time coming soon. Bernardo price rising. Yeah, but even a price rise or price drop or two is not going to put me off. I think Norwich, if he starts, he could be really good. I already have Chilwell. Fair enough, yeah. I think that could be a good one, having Chilwell and James, when they both start, very explosive. My team is Ramsdale, Reece James, Chilwell. Yeah, looks pretty decent. Do you watch Fogden? I don't. I have been recommended some videos of his before, but I don't. Foden for Sarr for a hit. Yeah, I still would do that, Lewis. But Sarr could do alright this week, but yeah. Is Rafinha going to play, says MK? I think so. I think he'll definitely be in the squad. As for if he's going to start, who knows, but I think he will. Lukaku to Kane for free. Honestly, with how Kane is playing, I probably wouldn't. I'd rather have Son in midfield and maybe Vardy or someone else in attack. Rate my team: Sanchez, Foster, Rudiger, Chilwell, Trent, White, Livramento, Havertz, Foden, Salah, Rafinha, Allen, Hwang, Antonio, Vardy. It's a really good team. There's not really a big weakness there. In the coming weeks, what you could do is get Vardy and Havertz out for example, Son and maybe someone else. Looking at your team, you could maybe look for example, Tony. But that's a good team. There's not really a need for a transfer. Foden Jesus as a differential captain. Yeah, maybe. But if you back them to do well and outscore Salah, go for it. But I'm personally going for Salah. Reece James looked undroppable versus Norwich. And when James is fit, isn't the defence Chilwell, Rudiger, Aspie, Silva, Christensen and James? Yeah, but it could also be Aspie right wing back. And then it will be Rudiger, Silva and Christensen as the centre-backs. It depends on how Chelsea want to be, more defensive or more offensive. Confirm Simicast to Janssen. Just can't decide between Sarr or Greenwood for Foden. I would rather get rid of Greenwood. And then with Sarr, you can, kind of change him up after. This is a great stream. All the popular FPL channels are heaps overrated. Thank you very much. I mean, there are some good FPL channels, to be honest. There's a lot of good FPL channels, a lot of good podcasts, even people who are more low-key than me who make really good content. So very much appreciate what you say. And sometimes when there are a lot of comments, it does get a bit hectic, but I do try my best to answer every single question. Rate this team starters. Sanchez, Cancelo, Trent, Rudiger, Salah, Mbumo, Rafinha, Foden, Antonio, Tony, Kane, bench in order: Steer, Janssen, Livramento, Allen. I agree with your bench order. You could arguably put Livramento over him, but I think that's fine. Hosper, your 11 is pretty good, to be honest. I don't think you need to make a move this week, but once again, going forward, if Kane continues to be poor, you could just downgrade him, get another striker, for example, Hwang or Baraka when he's fit, and even potentially Vardy, and then upgrade one of your midfielders to Son. I nearly said Foden, but you do have him. Yeah, Son is the main one. It's also for a hit, says Goldhead. Fair enough. I mean, it's not too bad though. It's not a bad hit. I think it pays off in the long term. Is Marcel playing? Based on what I just read, no. I think he's still on the sidelines, but I did see somewhere that he is actually... Let me actually check this, man. I don't want to give you the wrong information. But yeah, maybe I'm just reading conflicting sources or something. Let me check and make this sure. So apologies for this. It is 9:35. We've been streaming for 2 hours and a half. Yeah, he is marked as 25%, so he's very unlikely to play. He's got a calf injury, so yeah. And Ben Dury did report in his predicted lineups that he is, a major doubt to play, and he's got, a few more weeks maybe, or a few more, at least this game week, at least for the sidelines. So yeah, I think Marçal is going to miss out. I'm not sure how long he's going to be out for, but I'm guessing he's going to miss out on game week 11 too. Of course, I'm no doctor. Let's wait and see. Only Bruno Lager could tell us, all the latest updates. What's Bielsa said about Rafinha? He said that he should be fine and available in his latest press conference. And a few days ago, after the game against Arsenal, he said he has nothing, same with Shackleton, that should impede him for the game at the weekend against Norwich. Do you think Fernandes and KDB will live up to their premium cost this season? Great question. I don't think KDB will, because Foden is significantly cheaper and is just doing so well. You don't need him. And also, he's going to be in and out of the side. Pep is going to manage him. KDB's a bit injury prone as well. Fernandes, if he's on penalties, I think he could, but he's not going to be anywhere near as good as he was last season, if I'm being honest. Yorang says 2 a.m. here. Dylan, got to get some sleep now. Good luck, everyone, for the weekend. Thank you, Yorang. Good luck, and hopefully you do really well this week. And appreciate you staying up for until so late. Same with everyone else who's been watching this. Foden for Sarr or Saka? Should I? If so, for who? For Saka, I would probably put. Maybe it doesn't sound too ideal. I'd ultimately get rid of Sarr as well though. But yeah, maybe I'd do that. I'd definitely get Foden in though. Ninja says my team: Ramsdale, Chilwell, Reece James, Cancelo, Salah, captain Townsend, Sarr, Mount, Benrahma, Antonio Vardy. What do you think? Woodman, Matip, Ings, Collins. Yeah, it's a good team. I would be making a few changes. So let me just check. So 2, 3. Yeah, so your defense is what I'm a bit concerned about. So what I'd do is potentially downgrade Vardy once again to Tony or Hwang. With that money, I would upgrade Matip to Trent Alexander-Arnold, simple as. And then I would move Collins to Livramento or Ben White. I think your goalkeeper's fine. You don't have to make a transfer yet. Your midfield as well, I'd be looking to get in Foden and Son. So, with those moves, you can make those transfers. And that's what I'd be looking to do. And I'd be keeping Mount, Salah, of course, possibly Benrahma. And I'd be looking to get rid of Sarr and maybe Townsend. Although Armstrong is on my bench, do I sell him or James, who's in my 11? Or hold for 2 to 3 transfers and see whether James plays? It might be the right call to hold and see. But yeah, I'd expect Armstrong not to play, to be honest. No problem, Hospas. Where do you look to know if they are playing? Of course, no one knows for sure, but if you check on Fantasy Football Hub, you check the predicted lineups by Ben Dinnery. What he does is basically compile all of these managers, all their press conferences, and he checks different sources. So, he does his research, he does a good job, and, you can see it all in one article. You can see all of the latest news. But if not, of course, Twitter, you type in a player's name, and there's also other Twitter accounts that literally report all of the press conferences. So there's plenty of different sources where you can get this information. Deadline stream in the morning? Probably not. This is the deadline stream, and there probably will be a reaction stream, but probably on the Sunday. I'm unavailable tomorrow. Of course, I'll let you guys know, but probably not. But yeah, thank you very much for asking. Should I sell Aspilicueta for Chilwell? You don't have to, but Barca to Aladai. But if not, you could. I think Chilwell at the moment is the kind of, the main guy there. His form is absolutely sensational. I don't expect him to continue his hot streak of goals, but yeah, he's just so tempting, isn't he? Ultimately, you could just save the transfer and then look to reassess next week with 2 free transfers. Do you get money for these streams and the vids? In terms of the advertisements, the super chats and the channel members. But yeah, nothing else other than that, to be honest. But anyone who is monetized on YouTube or is part of the YouTube partnership program does earn a bit. But yeah, nothing astronomical. Don't worry, mate. Can I say my team and bench? You can. I am wrapping up soon. But yeah. Is KDB starting tomorrow? I think he is, Mohamed, but still not too confident in him as an asset. I don't know why. I have a feeling Saka's going to score versus Leicester. Yeah, I think he did actually at some point. Maybe in a draw a few seasons ago, or 2 seasons ago now. Should I get Smith Rowe for Gallagher and use the extra funds to buy Foden or Trent? Oof. I'd rather have Trent long term, but Foden, of course, is really, really a hot topic at the moment, just like Chilwell. But yeah, I'd get Trent, to be honest. I'd want to get both of them. Ronaldo out. Who should come in from -4? Either Vardy, Antonio, but then again, poor fixture soon. Yeah, Vardy or Tony for me. Mbeumo in, Benrahma out. It is risky. Mbeumo might not even start, but yeah, could be worth it. Just bear in mind, Benrahma does play Villa, one of the worst teams at the moment defensively. I haven't got wildcard or free hit as I have. Yeah, fair enough. But you don't have to wildcard or free hit. Start Armstrong or Mbeumo. I would start Mbeumo. How do people know when players will price rise? No one knows for sure, but there are these price rise sites. You can check them out. But yeah, there are plenty out there. Start Saka or Livramento or Armstrong. I would start Livramento. Bench 2, Livramento, Jimenez, and Mbeumo, Rafinha. I would bench Livramento and Jimenez, I guess. Thanks for your advice. No problem, mate. Thank you very much for tuning in. Have messed up first year of fantasy for me. Have no wildcard, no free hit, no triple captain. So I don't know if I'm not a good FPL manager on 460 points so far. I mean, it's your first season. You're learning as you go. But yeah, just one thing to kind of note is that the free hit is really well used with a blank game week. And a blank game week is caused when a certain team doesn't have a game in a particular week because it conflicts with another competition like the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, or the Champions League. And then that forms a double game week in the future because that game has to be played. So it will probably be deployed during a midweek. So yeah, the free hit is best used in a blank game week or a double game week. The triple captain when a player like Salah has Norwich at home or a double game week. And as for the bench boost, if you still have that, definitely use that in the double game week, to be honest. And you have a second wild card to come, so don't worry about that. Is it worth a -4 for Havertz to Foden? No, not for me, because Havertz could do really well. I like Foden. I prefer him a lot over Havertz, but I wouldn't do that. And who should I start, Benrahma or Gray? I would start Benrahma, but Gray could do all right. And thank you, Andy Barrett. Very much appreciated. Rock and roll. Says when they play good, they rise. When they don't, they fall. Yeah, but it's also to do with the amount of transfers in and the overall ownership and how it changes. Bernardo will play. I think so, Mustafa. And Bernardo's a quality player in real life, but I'm still not convinced by him as an FPL asset. But I do have my eye on him. Is it crazy to captain KDB tomorrow? No, if you're looking for a punt, he could be really good, a great differential, but I'm just not backing against Salah at the moment. It's not really crazy though. Bench Rafinha, not for me. I think you will start, but of course it depends on what you think. Should I take a hit to get Chilwell? It depends who you get rid of, but I think it could actually be worth the hit. Adil says Foster, Trent, Cancelo, Livramento, James, Salah, Rafinha, Foden, and Mbeumo, Vardy, Antonio. Bench Ramsdale, Saka, Armstrong, Duffy. One free transfer. Please tell me what you do. Tough one. It's a tough one. I like your team. You don't need to make a transfer, but I think Armstrong to Tony would be the thing I'd do. Even if James might not start. Yeah, that's what I would do. Yeah, Armstrong to Tony if you can afford it. You think I should make Hwang or Mbeumo as a sub? Probably Hwang, but I think both are good. Foster, Chilwell, Livramento, Trent, Havertz, Foden, Rafinha, Salah, Mbeumo, Vardy, Tony, bench, Hwang, White, Duffy. That's a good team. I actually agree, if anything, with your lineup and the way you structured your bench. That's actually fine. That's a good team. Yeah, I think in the coming weeks you can get Son in. Once again, you can downgrade Vardy, upgrade Havertz, for example, but that's fine. I want to get top 1 million for my first year of fantasy, but I don't know if I will. You can, for sure. Top 1 million is definitely achievable. You could even aim higher than that. You just have to go on a little bit of a run and, make some efficient decisions, have the right team structure, stick to, something that you like, and try to avoid too many hits every single week, and try not to be too overreactionary, and try to be proactive. What are you getting out? Wait, what? Not too sure what you mean by that. Apologies if I'm being a bit ignorant there. Hey Dylan, crazy question, but what are your thoughts about a Discord server? Yeah, I've actually considered it. Someone talked about it earlier in the last few days, and it's something I'm thinking about. I do have Discord, so yeah, it's something to think about. I have a feeling that Salah might get benched tomorrow like Mane last game. I hope you're wrong, Mohammed, but you might be right, to be fair. I got 102 last game week, really good score. I think that's what I got in game week 1, or 101. Fair play, mate. I only got 86 last week, as you can see. Forson Hudson-Odoi could be really good for the next 3 game weeks, but ultimately I still prefer Havertz playing up front for a Chelsea team, and also Mason Mount in the midfield. Marco Lira says, I have 1 free transfer. I want Son next week, so wondering, do I do Rafinha to Son this week? yeah, roll the transfer. Don't get rid of Rafinha, in my opinion. He could do really well against Norwich. If I were to get Tony, would I start him and for who? Yeah, I'd start him over Livramento, Adil, if not Mbumo, but yeah, that's what I'd do. Foden for Havertz -4. I probably wouldn't. I think Havertz could match or outscore Foden, but yeah, both good options this week. I prefer Foden long term, but for a hit, no. Best captain apart from Salah, I think Foden. I talked about this in my preview. I listed the top 5 captaincy options as I do every week, and I put Foden in number 2. Do you play FIFA? I do. Not too much. I think in terms of online games, I've played 15 matches overall. I've won all of them. Weird flex, but okay. But yeah, I do play FIFA, just not too much, if I'm being honest. For next game week, who will I change? Says Ninja. I'm trying to get your message across because you put it quite a while back. I would probably be looking at. Yeah, I mean, I gave you the suggested transfers that what you could do. So yeah, I think ultimately what you want to do, you don't have to make a transfer this week. You can make 2 free transfers. Vardy down to a Tony. You can make Matip up to Trent Alexander-Arnold, and then make another change in there and start to invest in your midfield and get Son and Foden. Tony in for Jimenez or Antonio. I still prefer Antonio over Jimenez, so I'd say Jimenez out. Should I bench Jimenez for Livramento? I'd probably play Jimenez. Montesir. Azpilicueta would play or injured? He's not injured. He's recovered. He's in training. He might not start, but I think he will. Salah wasn't involved in Preston games, so should have enough rest to start. Yeah, I agree, but he will probably be benched occasionally. Not too often though. Nothing crazy like City or Chelsea. Would you bench Bista Foster, Juan Livramento, Rafinha was your bench tomorrow? I wouldn't. I would be waiting for a double game week, to be honest. Bro, you're still going. Appreciate it. Yeah, I've literally got the food ready. I'm going to be going, unfortunately. While still streaming, mate. Appreciate it. Thank you, Kobe. Man, I wish I had Chilwell instead of James. It's not too bad, though. James could do just as well, if not outscore Chilwell, like he did last week. So, it's not the worst thing. Alonso to Chilwell -4. I probably would, but it could easily backfire, just to be completely honest with you. Once again, thank you very much to everyone who has tuned in today. Very much appreciated. If you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. Very much appreciate everyone tuning in. And good luck. Enjoy the night. Enjoy Game Week 10, hopefully. And good luck with the rest of the season. Hopefully this is a much better game week than Game Week 9. I mean, to be fair, it was a quite high-scoring week, but yeah. Maybe I was a bit bitter. Maybe I am a bit better. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram if you want. Dylan_RCM. Appreciate everyone who follows me on that as well. And you can always talk to me there. Might open a Discord server as suggested by Rock and Roll. Why not? And of course, the more the merrier. Thank you very much to everyone who's been subscribing recently. We've hit 7,000 subscribers over the last few days. I lost count. But literally in the last 1 or 2 months, we've gotten 3,000 subscribers, 2,000 to 3,000. So very much appreciated. And God bless you all. Enjoy FPL, enjoy the football, and I'll see you next time.